You're listening to The Front Porch Show. Some shows are niche shows, talking about specific topics. Others, shows about nothing. This show is the show about everything. On The Front Porch Show, we'll talk about current events, some news, a little bit of politics, along with a whole lot of life. Welcome to our Front Porch. 1-402-799-1811. That is the message line number. You are listening to The Front Porch Show. As the intro said, you've got Ozzy to my, well, technically on camera, you're to my right, I guess. And then Jeff, well, Jeff is invisible.
Jeff is just
he's flashing gang symbols because he's a thug.
No, you can't use that word. I learned that.
Has that been? We can't use the word thug.
It has racial implications.
Here we go. You're like, we're like, well, let's jump into this thing.
Wait for you to just dive
should
into
I talk
that.
to
Not what we were talking.
I should ask the lawyers real quick. Can we use the word thug? No, we cannot use the word thug. Okay.
Unless you're referring to the what wasn't it? Isn't it an Asian? The Thuggies, an Indian. It's an Indian gang, I believe.
I don't know. We'll dive into that later in the show.
Like the Foot Clan, bunch of thugs. No.
Speaking of thugs, where is Tombstone today?
Tombstone, right? I don't know where Tombstone is. I have no idea. I have a camera here that is bouncing all around.
That's because you're grabbing it and moving.
Well, yeah, because it was bouncing around.
You couldn't have fixed that before we came on. He's like, let me do this right in the middle of everything that's going on.
It wasn't bouncing.
Well, it's not supposed to.
I know it wasn't. I don't want it to. No, now it's bouncing still.
What are you doing? Are you kicking your desk?
No.
Is your child hiding behind the desk pulling on the cord?
I am legit not moving. Now I'm touching it.
Is there an
earthquake?
Is there an earthquake in Redneckville, Nebraska? What's going on?
Are your cities okay?
Earthquakes, guys. Earthquakes.
Or is it riots?
Oh my gosh, dude. Do you? What?
That's a great shot of his armpit.
Yep, there you go. This show is
all natural, boys. All natural.
Wow.
All natural on the armpits.
Okay. All right.
You got your camera suspension.
You guys aren't either.
Are you okay? Are you okay?
I'm good. We're solid. We're ready to roll. We're ready to do the show.
It looked to me like you were in the manscaping.
Why don't you just restart? Why don't you just restart the intro? Just don't cut anything. Just restart the intro and we'll go back.
Roll
yeah, just roll right.
Just roll. Pretend nothing happened.
Intro 2.0.
Yeah, I don't know where Tombstone is today. I was wondering the same thing. He hasn't talked to us, but I know he's not gone because he's watching We Were Soldiers. No,
he's
nothing.
Not,
was that
he's
too?
Not
that was
watching?
terrible. That was terrible.
It was terrible.
But did you guys
rewind? Let's rewind that
because we talked about Memorial Day movies, right?
Yeah,
it's true,
and that is a solid one. But what you're saying is Tombstone's never seen it.
He hasn't watched it and won't watch it for some reason.
He doesn't want to? Has he given a reason?
He doesn't like Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson doesn't make good movies. That's all it is.
Yeah, I mean, terrible movies.
Yeah,
I know. Well, Patriot, Braveheart, Apocalypto.
Apocalypto was weird.
I don't remember that one, but I see it's on Netflix, so I'll watch it again. I was
actually watching The Patriot last night. I didn't finish it yet, but I was watching it. No, I don't have Netflix. It's on Hulu.
Oh, okay.
So I started watching that again, and I haven't watched that in years. It is so good.
It is.
It is really good.
It's a really good movie.
And let me tell you, once I don't think I've watched it really since it's probably been a long time because, dude, some of those parts that I never even fazed me before, like when his kids die and the danger that he puts them in, dude, that stuff hit home real hard this time because it was just like, oh yeah.
You wouldn't hand your 7-year-old kid a musket and say, take the first shot and then reload for your 9-year-old brother.
I mean, if I had a 7-year-old son and a 9-year-old son, sure.
Okay.
And you were put in the same situation.
Yes.
Let's be clear.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Let's be clear. Let's be clear.
It's a random Tuesday. He's just like, here, grab the guns and reload. They're just popping the cars that drive by him from the house.
No. Oh my goodness.
This is a great time to start these conversations.
That's not what I meant. That is not what I meant.
Oh man!
Oh my goodness.
Yes, I meant if he was in the same situation.
Yes, if I was in the same situation in 1776, yeah.
Yes.
It was 1776 then. Yeah.
Right.
So-
Right. So yeah, I watched We Were Soldiers last night, and I love that movie, but I hate that movie. Like
It's
at
good.
the
It's
end,
good, but it makes you
at
mad.
the end, I feel so terrible, and like it's just
it is an excellent movie.
Do you know what really killed me is when the Chinook lands, and all the reporters pile out of that helicopter, and they get in everyone's faces, and they're trying to make this glorious, report of what happened.
Are they even trying to make a glorious report? I would honestly believe that in that era, they were actually trying to make a negative report.
Kind of like today. Oh, wait.
I mean, yes and no. They were like, how does it make you feel to win and to be victorious? And I don't know.
I mean, they're just asking their questions completely detached from the reality of the battle.
And you've got the one reporter who legitimately went through it.
Yeah.
And man, guys, I cry in that movie. Like,
yeah, that one.
I can't.
It is a good movie. It's a hard one.
I feel like they do an okay job in that one of like. This is why I think it's a good Memorial Day movie. Recognizing, I guess you could say, like the losses and the sacrifice on both sides without actually not fully equating like the communist Viet Cong and the American.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
it addresses the humanity.
It addresses
doesn't address
the humanity
issues.
without being like,
overtly
they're just
political.
the same as us, like, I mean, no, there was reasons we were there, and a communist country was invading another country, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But
that's why, which is not technically a Memorial Day movie. I mean, I guess it could be, but it's not America. But that's why I liked They Shall Not Grow Old.
Yeah.
Did a really good job of documenting both sides of, okay, you had the British and the Germans, and they were both this was before Nazism was taking over the entire craziness and all that for World War II. But it was two large powers, but it was fought by men and boys.
Yeah.
That didn't really have per se a not a dog in the fight, but they weren't, they weren't, there wasn't a crazy ideological insanity behind it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which is hard to say because it was a world war, but
and it was still, mass domination.
But it depends on your focus. When you're filming a movie, writing a screenplay, you really get to design who the focus of your film is. Is it going to be that politics? Is it going to be is it going to be the humanity? And the problem is, and I think this is widely our issue today, we lose sight of the humanity in our country when we're dealing with political issues, whether that be the race issues in Minneapolis, or that be the
he is determined to dive into
no, not the segment.
Yeah,
not the segment.
So totally
not the
are.
segment. Or just a simple left-right political divide in Washington.
Yeah.
We forget the humanity. All we are to each other are political talking points. And
this is why
you are pretty much just a political talking point to me.
This is why we need Mel Gibson. All right. There's a few people that we absolutely need. And listen, Mel Gibson went through all of that craziness. Back in the day when everybody was dressing and painting themselves blue and not wearing any underwear. He went through that. He survived somehow getting his head chopped off. Then he went into being like a patriot. Like, the man is basically Wolverine. I mean, like, for real, right? So I'm waiting to see, what he's going to do.
He's basically
there is that scene in X-Men Origins Wolverine where he's like in World War I,
right,
and then
right,
World War II.
Right.
And then
little
Vietnam.
did they know that it's actually a documentary about Mel Gibson.
So basically what you're saying is Mel Gibson is either Wolverine or Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
No.
He's indestructible. You realize, like, our grandchildren will still be hoping to elect someone to replace Ruth Bader, that will nominate someone to replace
Seriously.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg off
They're
the
gonna
court.
they're just gonna have her like on a scarecrow stand at that
it's
point.
like a lifetime position for her.
Telling-
Like, not even lifetime. It's like an eternal position for her.
So, I mean, look,
You're right, it
I'm
is a
telling you
lifetime
guys,
position.
the blood of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and
What?
Betty White. And just hold on. Betty White and Keith Richards is probably really, really expensive at this point. Did you guys see that people who have coronavirus, they're selling their blood for $1,000 a milliliter?
No,
I guess I better go get tested to see.
Right, I know. It's like I'm thinking bank. I'm selling a pint, guys.
How many
You
milliliters
can't really
in a pint?
take that much out at a time.
It'd be milliliters. Let's see.
How much do they take when you do a normal blood donation?
I don't know.
A pint.
It's not, is it
I
a
think
pint?
I think they take a pint, whatever
Is
that
it?
bag is.
I think so.
I don't know.
I think it's a half gallon.
One pint. No, they don't. You don't. No, I don't think you have a half
It's got an
gallon.
eggnog jug just sitting there.
All right, it is 470
473.
470 milliliters.
Milliliters? Oh, in a
Yeah.
pint? 470?
Yeah.
No. Oh, is it a pint? Okay, then that
No, I don't know what they're taking. That's what I was asking.
470 milliliters
In a
Okay,
pint.
So ml 2 pints.
Oh, no. They take 470.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's what he
you
said.
donate a pint of blood,
yeah,
yeah.
roughly a pint. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. All
and
right.
it can save 3 lives. Just so you know. So if you enjoy getting
never-
stabbed in the arm,
I've never understood that because, like, it's in one bag. Do they use that same bag for 3 different people? Where's their stat with it saves 3 lives?
oh,
Is it
I don't
they
know.
split
One
it up?
pint can save up to
Well,
3
I
They
lives.
would've-
split up your whole blood into parts, and that's why they do it.
I would imagine after it goes into that bag, it probably goes in, like to a factory or something and gets filtered through, and you know what I mean.
Does it get
I don't
like?
think it.
Does
I
it
don't
get
know that
mixed
it goes.
with everyone else's?
They just
I don't
mix
know.
it-
I'm just saying. I don't.
all the
think, I don't know
O-negs
that it
over
goes
in this
straight
vat and all the
from-
B positives over in this vat, and
Right.
then we just stir it all.
I
up.
would imagine that there's probably tests that
That's
it has
so
to go through.
disgusting.
I mean, there's got to be some testing because they're not just going to rely on you to
Right.
roll in and say I don't have diseases. you
Right,
know?
right. So I would imagine it probably, it gets mixed like it's like whiskey when you have like, oh,
They
this person
put it in
this
barrels.
person
They
this
put it in
person
both
has
barrels
this
and
person
let
has
it age.
10-year-old blood, this person has 25-year-old blood, this person has 5-year-old blood. They just mix it and then make
I'd
like a
like-
decent
Wait, they're
amount,
taking blood from 5-year-olds and 10-year-olds? What are you talking about?
I don't know.
You can't do that.
Stop.
Sure.
Have you
Says
guys
the
ever
guy
sold-
who's
That's
like,
fascinating.
Have you guys ever
Ruth Bader
sold
Ginsburg.
plasma?
No, have you?
I did it once, yeah.
No,
Man.
I'm not. Yeah.
I just moved to a town and we're just getting started with
And
jobs
he needed
stuff.
money.
No joke. It was an extra way to make some extra
There
money
was-
and like your
How much
first
did you get?
For doing it 2 times, it was a couple $100 or $150 or something like that. It wasn't a ton. Like if you kept going consistently, it'd be a little extra cash each month. Your very first month, because you can only give it like 2 times in a month, and they've got to be a week apart, or I forget what the spacing was.
So, Jeff, what you're saying with the plasma is you sold your body for money.
Were you in Nevada?
No, just a portion of my body.
Just a portion of you. Really?
I
Really,
mean, that
Jeff?
makes it better. I think that still makes it illegal. And you sold it to the government.
No, it was completely legit. It was in this little strip mall, and they gave me this little credit card that the money went on. And
Were you and Robert Kraft hanging out?
no,
Okay, just make.
Did you? Were you
Just saying,
directly
just wondering.
connected to Ruth Bader Ginsburg and giving her blood?
I hope not.
Because if you were, I want a straight pipe from Jeff.
Dude, all right, I did actually just randomly that has to do with blood. I started watching this Lance Armstrong documentary on
Oh, yeah.
on ESPN.
I heard that was good.
Dude, that is excellent. You got to watch out. It's got a lot of language, but it's very good. But
So it's just like talking with
essentially, essentially all what they were doing as far as quote unquote doping, right? Is he was at first he was getting these injections, but all the injections and blood transfusions, all they were doing was just giving him extra oxygenated blood.
Yep. Dope in the
That's
blood.
all it was. Like that's all it is.
But that technically would be increasing his performance then if his
Yes.
blood is
Oh, yeah.
Correct. Oh
oxygenated.
yeah. No. But I'm saying though, it's not like you're using quote
Magical
unquote like
steroids.
performance enhancing drugs or things like that. Like it's something that's
Right.
actually like very. The only reason it's illegal is because you're enhancing the sport and they made it illegal.
Well,
like it's not actually like an
that's
illegal
true
thing
of-
to do.
That's true of any drugs, right? Like
No,
if you,
no. But I'm saying
yeah,
though,
like if you want to just nail the roids and have roid rage and be jacked at your
Right.
local gym to try to show off to
Right.
the babes or whatever, you can
Right.
do it. But
Right.
if you're in the National Football League, they're going to be like, or no. Or if you're in MLB, they're going to be like, no. So a lot of these things aren't illegal. They just
I just
say
thought
they're
that was-
unfair competition. So
I just thought that was interesting.
Oh,
And
yeah.
apparently,
Without a doubt.
apparently everybody was doing it too.
Yes.
So it's
well, that's usually how those things are. Like
right.
people will they'll hone in on one thing that they think fits a little loophole in the doping rules.
Yep.
They'll do it till somebody gets nailed, and then they'll all bail out real quick before
Yeah.
they all get caught.
Man, I think
Yeah.
it was a documentary on Netflix, or maybe it was Amazon Prime. It was talking about the doping. It was talking about the doping with like the Major League Baseball, Alex
Yeah.
Rodriguez and Sammy Sosa and Mark McGuire, and that was fascinating because what they
Yeah.
were doing is they were doing basically the same thing. They were doping blood, and they were doing like, oh well, this product's not banned, so
Well,
we'll
so like
we'll hit
basically,
you up with this.
because basically the league created a list of banned products,
Yeah,
Right.
and so they were finding new ones that weren't.
Right. Now, do you have? Because I'm actually mixed about this because I think that offhand of my thoughts are, if you can almost get away with it, why not?
Well, I don't think maybe this is what you're trying to say, maybe not. So let me try to clarify. I think what you're saying is that if you read over the entire list and like Mathis
Right.
is saying, technically this product is not banned,
Right. Use it.
then why wouldn't you use it? I agree with
Right.
that. If it's like, I
Use
know
it.
how to covertly cover this up and cheat tests
Right.
to not show
Right.
it.
Right.
So I don't think it's if you can
Right.
get away with it. I think it's
Right. If it's
technically
something,
there's a loophole, why not
Yes.
use the loophole?
why not
It's,
exploit it?
well, it's the same thing for some of the plays that
But I'm
New
just
England
saying-
New England gets accused of in football, where they're like
Or the
after the
Astros.
whole deflate gate, and then they're like, well, this, and I know there was that one play with like the lateral and the pass or something that there was like a whole big kerfuffle shortly after deflate gate where they were like,
Right.
well, no, it's not technically illegal, but nobody ever does this play, and it's like, okay, like
Okay.
then that's not cheating.
Yeah,
You know
what
what
is
I'm
this?
saying?
Some sort of like
like-
there's like a gentleman's agreement in place here that
Yeah,
we're not going to
that
do this.
you don't
and-
do this tricky play like that
Right.
that one's weird
See-
to me.
Right.
See the Patriot. Civilized men don't fight like that.
Yes. Yes.
But
But that's what I think is
so
and it's the
you're
same
saying
thing.
so you think the same thing about stealing signs in baseball then? You think
Oh, yeah,
there's
I
no
think it's
prohibition
fine.
against it, so it's
No,
legit?
why not?
Now to what level
Why
of
not?
technology? To cameras
I-
and buzzers?
I would say whatever you can get away with. You know what? Because think about it. The Astros are not the only team in the league that was doing this. Come on. There's no way. They're just the fall guy for it, and they're the ones that got in trouble for doing it.
I'm never
There's
playing
no-
board games with Ozzy.
There's no
Yeah,
way.
seriously.
There's no way. Oh, come on. There's no way that everybody wasn't doing this, and there's no way that they haven't been doing this for years. It's just like the pine tar. Using pine tar in baseball. Let them use pine tar in baseball. Everybody
They-
uses it.
They the pitchers because the batters use
Yeah.
it.
No, the pitchers.
I'm a purist when it comes to sports.
See, I feel like
But I'm saying-
if you're saying stealing signs is the guy on second base trying to look at what sign the catcher's giving and having a signal to the batter, whatever, that's fine. That's the guys on the bases actively in the game. It's like trying to it's like trying to be a defensive back and learning the snap counts and trying to rush the snap count or something. Like you might get it right, you might get it wrong. to the level of like cameras and buzzers and this kind of stuff, I think
We've
I lean
mounted a
toward
camera
Mathis,
on the center field wall.
where I'm like, I'm a little bit of a purist where I don't know that
I mean,
I'm for it.
I may not be happy about that it happened either, but I'm just saying, you know, it's like with Lance Armstrong. Lance Armstrong was not at all the only one doping.
No,
Not by far.
I
By
mean,
far, he was not the only one doping. And I it's still probably happening, I'm sure.
so then everyone should just do it.
I mean, if everybody does it, it's not an advantage unless you do it better.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but
Do you know
because
what I mean?
here's the other side of it that's got to get tougher and tougher as the years go by, and that is with all the advances in medical science and the injuries these guys get and how quickly they try to get them back in the game because they're the money they make the team and
Right.
the money the guys want to make and et cetera, et cetera. Like it must get harder and harder to draw the line between doping and the advancement in medical science that allows you to have Tommy John surgery and 3 months later be back playing baseball.
Right,
You know what
right.
I'm saying? Like whatever surgeries and stuff they have where these guys come back within 8 weeks and are back out there playing.
Right.
And you're going, man, I'd have been out of work for 2 months and then it wouldn't have been able to walk for 3 years, or whatever these
Right.
guys are doing. So at what point do you that medicine
you
that they're
let it go
taking
and when do
that's
you not?
doping, and if it's repairing an injury versus just, I think when they're completely healthy and just trying to boost their performance to that next level, I think that's where they try to draw the line.
what about the guys though who don't do this? I
Don't
mean,
dope.
yeah, I mean there are guys out there who don't do it, who want to be, the best of their game as naturally as they can be.
They're
I mean-
not going to be able to be.
Right.
You have the same you have the same argument. So why would they play down to those people's level, and why would those people not play up to the other person's level?
Basically, Ozzy's cool
It's
with
the same
what-
argument.
All Ozzy's saying is that instead of going with like purely the natural approach or whatever you're saying, if the technology's available, just use it, and if it becomes all
Right.
superhumans
Well,
playing
right.
whatever sport, it's all superhumans playing whatever sport.
I had the same questions about Blade Man there in the Olympics.
What's Blade Man?
The guy without the legs.
Yeah,
that
the
was
Blade
using
Runner.
Oh, that one that one's tricky because I think that's hard.
I
Because
mean,
then you get into something that, like,
can I
unless
say this?
people are
That's not a
willing.
good
No,
joke.
you
I won't
can't.
say this.
No, you
I
can't.
won't say this. I was gonna offer a
I was
solution,
gonna say,
but I'm not
like,
gonna say it.
but unless you're willing to give everybody the potential to have that advantage, and that's something that I think if you're willing to cut your legs off, then go for it. But like yeah.
Never mind. You drew it out of me. Technically, everybody could get those.
I mean,
could
I'm
have
just-
that advantage.
Right.
You'd have
right.
to really sell yourself out to your sport.
Right.
But technically,
yeah, I think that's an extreme example, but I mean, yeah.
I hear you. I hear you.
The problem with that is that's not an easily accessible.
why isn't it?
Do you know what I mean? Well, okay, I'm going to cut my legs off to win the Olympics.
If your goal
I mean,
is to
if
win
you're
the Olympics,
if you're willing to do it, go for it, I guess. But
same thing
you know-
with these weird drugs to make your muscles grow weird or whatever, or oxygenate your blood more.
yeah,
I don't know, guys.
I don't know.
How did we even get here? To be honest, I don't even remember.
we were talking about you doping.
Yeah,
Oh, that's right. I talking about me donating blood,
yeah. You
Basically the same
prostituting
thing,
your
right?
body
and I don't even know how we got on me donating
for
blood. So,
for science.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
Did-
connect that dot.
Oh, boy. But I do have a friend who was donating blood who had COVID and is donating blood for. the
Is
work
he
they're doing.
charging for it?
Interesting.
I didn't read the whole thing to
That's
see. If,
interesting.
I don't know that he's getting money for it or if he's donating it.
Because I have no idea what blood type I am.
You
I
don't
should
know what
probably
blood type
no.
you
I
are?
don't know what blood type
Okay.
I am. I've really never done a stint in the hospital or anything to need to
Did
know.
you ever donate? You never donated. At
I don't do
college when
needles, man. I don't do needles.
What a wuss.
Yeah.
Just send him a box of needles, Ozzy, for his birthday.
No.
Yeah.
Just send him a box of needles.
That's not going to look suspicious
And
at all,
then-
Jeff.
And then let's call the police right around the time he should be opening it. And so they just show up and there's a box full of used needles in
You're shipping used needles.
Used needles.
Yes.
So I don't think you can legally do that, but okay.
Not now.
There's a loophole, and Ozzy said use whatever loophole.
I'm just saying. I expect there to be high performance in sports, and they are superstars. So if that's what gets them to the next level, like for instance, all right, with Lance Armstrong, for instance, okay. So one of the things that he had was that you had all of the people that were doping for one of the years, and this was before he, if I'm correct, it was before he started doping. So he was like the top of basically winning all of this stuff, and then he got into the professional things, and he couldn't even remotely come close, and he was at the top of his game, and he couldn't even remotely come close to winning.
Maybe
or to
the top
even
of his
to
game
even
wasn't good enough for them.
to even do all of this. But the next year, you know, he started doping, or maybe it was a story about somebody started doing the same thing, and he started winning. So you're enhancing yourself, but if you're bringing yourself up to being on the same level as everyone else, I mean, I don't know. If it's in the rules that it's illegal and you shouldn't use such and such and such, no, then fine, follow the rules.
See,
But
I guess I just
mean,
want an asterisk next to the name, you know?
why?
I want to know who's using and who's not. Because
Yeah,
I want the normal
Wouldn't you
guys.
rather know?
You probably don't, because you would probably be horribly disappointed with every single winning team
Maybe-
for the past 30 years.
Maybe. But see, look, here's my
Every
thing.
single one of them has a giant asterisk next to their team.
Probably, but yeah, I want to know that. I want to know who's functioning, you know, who's just a beast.
Okay, so here you go. Here's my next one, right? So what about if you have a personal trainer and you can afford to spend more time with your personal trainer than the other guy?
That's still using your natural abilities.
Is it though?
Yes.
Because the other guy doesn't have that opportunity to be able to get up to the same level as you do, and he may have better natural abilities,
I think
but he's
there's
not able to adequately get to that same level.
I think there's
because
a
he can't
major
afford
difference.
to do that.
No, I think there's a major difference with medical enhancements. Medical or pharmaceutical
I think that-
enhancements.
I
Okay,
think
So you're using chemicals and stuff to change
what
your
about
chemistry.
changing your diet? Because you have a
I-
better dietitian than the
I'm
other
fine
person.
with that. That's natural. You are
But that's-
eating.
Okay, so they're using all they're using is cortisone, and cortisone, all it does is enhance your natural ability to produce more oxygen in your blood,
I think
to
what we're saying
oxygenate your blood.
is that hiring some expert to teach you how to use the things naturally available to you in the physical world, as in exercise, weight machines, foods, would fall under the realm of normal and acceptable. Paying to have different substances injected into you to increase your abilities is where Mathis is saying.
Yeah, I think when you start injecting yourself with stuff, it's
like
on
I
the
get it.
realm of unnatural.
If you go back to the
Like-
Dark Ages and this guy's like, look, if you just actually start eating these vegetables and some meat right here too, and you'll be bigger and stronger than the guy who's just, you know,
Right.
eating mud pies or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like obviously
Mud
some medical
pie.
advancement seems
See,
like sorcery.
and I
You
think
know,
to your point, Jeff, like the guy who's on that strict diet from his trainer can still go out and eat half a pie.
like
and,
it still
like, he can
involves-
still
it
screw
involves
up
discipline.
personal choice.
He has to execute his plan and
Yeah.
discipline and train himself versus I just show
Versus,
up and lay on a table
oh,
and
yeah.
inject something in me.
Now, so here's the question: to Ozzy's
All right, that's a good
defense,
point.
to Ozzy's defense,
Oh.
because he's making some good
How
arguments.
much does this actually change things? Like, does this give people a distinct advantage? Because if I remember with the Lance Armstrong thing, they were saying that they didn't think it was actually giving that much of an advantage, and that there were some guys who they knew weren't doing it, who were doing just as well and keeping up with the pack.
That I don't think is correct.
Okay.
Mathis, remember, he watched one documentary.
I didn't see that documentary, but I'm referring to.
I've actually watched several on Lance Armstrong.
I'm referring to that other one on the baseball side of things.
Wait, what are we talking about?
The baseball documentary I saw about the HGH mills in Florida.
In cycling, it does give a distinct advantage.
Okay.
Because basically you can push harder and you can get better results per se because you have more oxygen in your blood, which means that your muscles can work better. So you do have a distinct advantage.
So I guess,
as opposed to people who don't.
I guess I'm not arguing the advantage, but I'm arguing, were there people using their natural abilities that were still doing better than the guys who were doping?
No.
Okay. And see that.
So let me ask. So let me ask you this, Aslan,
not at all.
to throw this in the mix. So I don't know if this would work. It might. Let's say that another way that they could do this, like if the poor man's way of getting better oxygenated blood was you just had a small oxygen canister on your back, on your bike, whatever, and you got the cannula shoved up your nose while you're riding, and you just crank that sucker up. It's probably got to work because
it's not
in different sectors that work. That works.
It doesn't give you saturation.
But theoretically, you could get something.
It increases your oxygen though, because obviously, I mean, they use it.
Right.
It has to, because
they use it in football all the time after one play.
Yeah, if they're playing in Denver, their guys are sucking down the oxygen. Like obviously, it does something. And so if you're riding in those high mountains in France or whatever, so should it be illegal to just strap on a oxygen canister and shove the thing up your nose and get oxygen that way?
If
try to increase your performance?
If it was okay with the rules, yeah.
Oh, well, then that totally defeats your whole argument, because it's not okay with the rules. Like they've said you can't use any artificial enhancement
to
your performance or whatever the rule was. Obviously they have, because he got in trouble for it.
Well, yes, they did get in trouble for it. So
obviously it violated a rule.
Oh yeah. I'm not saying it was legal. I'm not saying that at all. It wasn't legal for that sport.
Okay, well, legal per the rules of the sport, not like it's
right.
meth.
It's not an illegal substance.
But what I'm saying is, your argument all along is, I don't think it should be against the rules to do this.
I don't think it should.
Why not? But then I just said, can you use an oxygen canister? And you said, as long as it's not against the rules.
Yeah.
Should using an oxygen canister be against the rules or not?
No, I mean, if you want to strap on an oxygen, but nobody's going to do it, and I can tell you exactly why in cycling.
It's extra weight and extra
It's
drag.
extra, right. It's extra weight and drag. There's no way anybody's going to
do it. But my point being, if there is some other way
if they
of artificially enhancing your performance, but they don't allow any of this. So that's my point. So essentially, you're making the argument that all artificial enhancement should be okay. Basically, ditch all rules. If you can pump yourself up. I'm
saying at this point,
best doctor wins.
For cycling specifically, basically everybody is doping anyway, and they're all on the same plane. It's just it's a hidden thing. I mean, it's a pretty accurate statement. So because you have, like, for instance, you have a team that absolutely 100% does not dope. That is a professional cycling team, and they lose all the time.
Maybe they're just not as good. I never doped in high school. My record wasn't amazing.
Oh yeah, you were looking at high schoolers, so come on.
Dude, Jeff's like, I played sports once.
I'm just saying.
You know what I'm saying? Like
or maybe it's just like in baseball. Like
what you're contributing to, though, is that the teams that are always winning must be doping, versus there's just some people that are better than other people.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. For that specific sport, yes, that's kind of how it is. And so in order for you can watch, like, almost every documentary about cycling, there is the moment where that person is like, okay, you can either stay as you are and never go anywhere, or you can start doping like everybody else, and then you're on equal playing ground to start off with, and then your performance will be enhanced.
Till that guy gets better dope. So I think there's two solutions to it.
Right.
You crack down hard on the doping and make everyone do it naturally, or you let everybody dope. And you're going with the let everybody dope answer.
I mean, I'm just saying, if you can get away with it, this is the same thing in baseball all the time. Baseball does this all the time. It's you know what? Back in the day, it was, and this was also with cycling back in the day. This is a pretty modern thing that we're arguing about too, as of like the past 30 years.
Yeah.
Medical advancements, yeah.
Right. And no. As far as that goes. And so, with baseball, you used to have pitchers who would try to cheat, and they would use, all sorts of whatever, and everybody would try, they would load the bats down with
They cork them.
They would cork the bats. They would do this. They would do that, or whatever.
But all of those things are what was the term you used? They would try to.
I don't know where you're going with this.
You said you had pitchers that would try to.
That would
cheat.
Yeah.
Cheat. That's what. So all these things are considered cheating. Okay, everybody in Minneapolis is grabbing large screen TVs out of Target. Should I really
easy. We're still in the first segment. We can't do this, Jeff.
Now. No, I'm just saying. Point being, though,
if all your let me be a dad for a second. If all your friends jumped off a bridge, would you jump off a bridge?
If I'm getting paid hundreds of millions of dollars, yes, I would do that.
Okay.
Yes.
No morals there.
And we're talking about professional sports. You're talking about
so there's even more
maybe 1% of people that play sports can get into. I don't even know what the statistic
So since
is.
they've already achieved the pinnacle of human advancement, they should just go ahead and cheat against the other people that are trying to achieve.
Do you want to be entertained?
Are you not entertained?
100% entertainment.
Not for those guys. For those guys, it's a job.
I don't care about
money.
that. They get paid millions of dollars. Let them ruin their body.
Ozzy, yeah, there you go.
Here it is. They're not human. They're not human.
If they want to do it, go for it. I want to be entertained.
For his entertainment.
Ozzy.
Now the truth comes out.
That is 100% what they are.
Ozzy, do you watch WWE?
I don't.
Yes,
I have,
yes, he does.
Yes,
he does. Yes, he does.
So right,
he doesn't care how fake it is, as long as it entertains him.
I will fight you to the death. WWE is 100% real.
No.
Folks, we have a flat earther here. Flat earther,
chemtrails. That's so funny.
And WWE.
Oh, that's so funny.
Oh man!
Wow.
That's it. That's a wrap on that segment.
That was
perfect.
That's it.
That was excellent.
Oh man.
Next question, Jeff, where are you? Right there.
Yeah. I just want to thank each and every one of y'all for all you've done to your bodies. It's still real to me, damn it!
So that was Ozzy disguised under my name at a WWE forum. Just letting the wrestlers know how much their sacrifice means.
I've been passionate about this for years.
So in case you were wondering, he didn't want people to know, so he was pretending to be me, since my face has not been seen in public in over a decade.
Oh, that is. So that actually, it's not WWE. It's NWA.
Where did you find that?
I ran across it on YouTube a couple years ago, and as soon as you
ready to roll.
as soon as you went off on it, I was like, It's real to me. And
It was so good. So good. Just so you know how we operate around here, that intro was created on the fly during the break.
oh, guys, no, it wasn't even on the fly. I was mixing it live.
Oh,
Nobody else does that. The Front Porch Show. Let's just be honest.
No. Most shows would have done it in post.
Right.
And by the way, guys, I just want to point out that we covered more sports in the last segment than ESPN has in the last 2 months. So again, another check mark for the Front Porch Show.
Yes,
Absolutely.
and we sounded better doing it.
We did. And in fact, the video, I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible.
Man.
Oh my goodness,
So-
this is great. All right, where are we going here?
Guys,
Did we even discuss where we're going? I think we just
speaking-
talked.
We don't have a clue. We just wanted to get that
talked
intro in
about
so
the
bad. We
intro.
just started.
we didn't care.
Just do the
Guys,
intro.
speaking of superheroes, did you guys hear about the two brothers who decided to get bitten by the Black Widow spider so that they could turn into Superman?
You're supposed to get
Or
bit by
Spider-Man.
the blue and
Wait,
red
Spider-Man.
spider.
I was
Crap,
gonna
I'm
say-
totally messed that joke up.
Dude, back it up. Did you guys hear about those two brothers that got bit by Black Widow spiders so that they could try and become Spider-Man?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It's real
Wait,
to
wait.
me, Aaron.
Did you hear about those two brothers that got bit by Black Widow so they could try to become Ant-Man? What? I don't.
Wait, what?
No. They tried to do that so that way they could build a wall. Come on, really? Nobody's gonna follow me on this?
Nope. That one
No,
didn't.
no.
Crickets. We went from
No.
ants, from spiders to ants to crickets.
I was trying to drag Aaron into yeah, okay.
Never mind. To go back to the wall. That wasn't gonna work.
That was a pretty big jump. If
Natasha
It was a wall.
Romanov, Soviet Union, tear down that wall.
There you
when's
go.
when's that
We're
movie?
there.
When's that movie coming out, guys?
November so far.
Ah.
I believe.
Why
Hopefully-
was Mathis so interested?
hopefully
in the
Corona doesn't get
Scarlett
that one.
Johansson movie.
Was this an ability?
Also, just dazing. He's not even watching the camera.
I'm looking at this Black Widow spider.
Right? So boys aged 12, 10, and 8 from
Time out.
I'm guessing
I
the
saw
8-year-old went first.
This might
probably.
Wait. This is off topic, and this might, I don't know. I'll be the butt of jokes forever. But you know how Apple does the like automatic push news notifications to your phone?
Yeah.
So I get this one from NBC News, and when I look down, this is what I think it says: "Furry on America's streets," and I'm like, What is this article about furries? And then it goes on and it says, at least one dead, hundreds arrested as protesters over George Floyd's death raged across the country. Oh, it said Fury, not
Fury, not.
but I
not
saw furry on America's streets and at least one dead. And I'm like, what is this obscure article about people being killed at a furry convention?
Oh my goodness, Jeff. It's still real to me.
I just don't even know.
So spiders, yeah.
Wow, Jeff.
I was trying to figure out how you got there from an 8, 10, and a 12, 10, and 8-year-old boy.
I know.
I'm like, where's he
my
going with
God.
this? This is so confusing.
So these
All right,
these
I
boys
got
from
super distracted by that.
Chayanta, Bolivia. They were bitten. They were bitten by the Black Widow spider while they were tending goats in their village. They approached the spider, poked it with a stick.
Oh yeah, you don't do that.
Yeah. So, you know.
Yikes. Yeah, my kids definitely know what Black Widow spiders are because we do have them around here. So
we may have them around here. I thought I found one the other day.
yeah.
It did not have the red. It had a brownish hourglass.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. So I was doing some looking, and there are spiders that are very, very similar, I guess, to Black Widows. They're faux Black Widows. And so I don't know if that's what it was, but basically any spider that looks like a black widow is dying.
If it looks like a really nasty looking spider, it's kind of the same thing with bees and wasps and stuff like that. It's like the more menacing it looks, usually the more dangerous it is.
Like
and if it's
like
not,
the killer hornets.
I want it gone.
Like the killer hornets.
Right.
No, we're they're called murder hornets.
Murder hornets. I'm sorry.
Yeah, get it right.
Sorry.
Was not real to you.
But it doesn't matter. We don't have to worry about the murder hornets because we opened a cave with like 5 million year old sea creatures or something like that. So
yeah. Oh, did you? Yeah.
That was hilarious. The comment down at the bottom of that.
Was it?
Of the the article
talking about that you mentioned before the show. Yeah, let me see. It was right here on Facebook. Let me see if I can pull it up again.
Where is it, Jeff? We can't leave an awkward silence on the air.
It was right here and it disappeared.
We're supposed to be better than ESPN.
Okay.
I thought Ozzy had the article.
No, I don't have it up. You guys just started talking about it randomly.
Well, basically, it was like 5 million year old, like 30 creatures found sealed up in a cave for 5 million years. And the first comment was just seal that up. This is not the year.
I had a listener send that to me last night, and it was
brilliant. It's brilliant.
It is.
Did you? All right. So I put in a story here about so if you were a crane operator, first off, you would be making a ton of money.
Yes,
a lot of money. So
it's because of the commute.
So we have commute upwards. So this is a video of a crane operator. Now he is operating one of those huge cranes in the middle of a city. So he's several hundred feet in the air. And I guess he just kind of didn't have anything to do. This is in, I think it's London or it's in England somewhere. I'm not exactly sure. I got to pull this thing up. And so he is up in his crane, and there's a guy that I believe is on a rooftop of a building.
No, that's not a rooftop. That's down in a little park.
No,
It could be a rooftop.
I'm pretty sure it's a rooftop.
That's a rooftop?
I think it's a rooftop.
How's that a rooftop?
Honestly, I think it's a rooftop.
It's like a park.
No, I don't think it is. I think it's a rooftop.
The main doors and everything.
Anything else beside this picture?
No, you can't
tell. It's a video. It's a video.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing.
Anyway, so he's on whatever this is. Maybe it is. Anyway, so he's on the ground, in the suburbs, in the city, and he's lying down sunbathing. And so this crane operator realizes that the sun is behind him and that he has the perfect opportunity to shade this guy if he moves the crane boom.
So we've got this rolling on YouTube.
It is so ridiculously petty. I love it. I love it so much.
He's got it just like he liked it. He moves his towel over to the new spot.
The guy just slowly moves the crane boom over.
The crane operator, I am a little bit too nervous to play any sound.
I don't even know, I don't want to know what this guy's making to just sit in this crane.
Oh, this is what they do all day long, though.
Oh yeah.
They move that crane when they are needed.
Yep. And it's great.
And he is moving that crane so slow you could think the sun is moving the shadow.
Yeah. So this is the most petty thing that I have seen for a while.
Oh my goodness! Right.
He puts what I would do.
He puts the shade directly over the guy's body.
Yep.
That is amazing.
And now that I see the full video, I think it is on the ground actually.
Oh!
Okay, maybe it is.
No, the final shot.
The netting on the bottom was what had me questionable. I wasn't sure if that was like netting for people to not fall over the building. At 2 minutes and 4 seconds, it sure looks like the guy shoots the bird. Oh, does
he? Does.
Well, that's funny because the video is 2 minutes and 3 seconds.
Yeah, I was gonna say
I've got 2 minutes and 4 seconds.
So how did you see?
Well, that's why. That would be why your news source edited it.
No, I'm on Twitter. I'm on the Twitter link, and it says 2 minutes and 3 seconds.
Oh, I've got 2 minutes and 4 seconds. At the very end here, as our YouTube watchers can see,
it's 2 minutes and 3 seconds.
Oh well, okay, so it's 2 minutes and 4 on mine.
I don't know why it's edited. That's weird.
I have the video from Elliot Eastwick.
Check the video. Check the video out. It is absolutely hilarious.
I swear it's just 2 minutes and 4 on mine.
You're crazy.
I'm taking a
you know the
picture of it.
difference- You know the difference between a 3 and a 4, right?
Well, sometimes.
Yep. The 4 used performance enhancing drugs and got itself up a little bit above the 3.
Wow. Wow. I'm sending you guys a picture of the 4 just to show it. The YouTube watchers know that I am right.
The YouTube watchers?
Yeah, the YouTube watchers.
The YouTube
Mine
watchers.
on Twitter, it was from a different person though, so I don't know.
All right.
Oh,
anyway.
see, there's your
All right.
problem.
So
What else do we got?
Wow, that was
that was my
so,
best. That was
You
the
know,
best
we
story I
really kind of joked and skipped by the brothers. Did those boys live? From
Yeah, they
had.
Spider-Man?
did.
Yeah, what
They
happened to
did.
those kids?
Oh yeah, they live.
Let's come back. Okay, all right. So they got to the hospital. They're fine. All right, good.
Yeah, don't mess with Black Widow spiders. If it looks dangerous, it probably is. That's the basic gist of
And
it.
don't.
I think
mess
that's
with Black
probably
Widow.
good. That's probably solid advice.
Although she's technically, spoiler alert, dead now. So
Who is? Wait, what?
Black Widow.
Maybe.
Oh.
Remember,
I was like,
we're
wait,
dealing
what?
with
Where are we going?
we're
here?
dealing with funky timelines.
Are we though?
We are.
Are we?
We are.
I mean, we are because Captain America went and put everything back and lived his life.
Mhm.
How many lives did he live though?
That's a good question.
Because does he age the same?
Well, he obviously ages. Oh, that's true. Does he age normally?
Right.
He was just frozen.
That was the question I always had.
Do
Now,
you
now we're
guys-
getting into Marvel. Good grief.
I have a question, guys. Do you guys want to have a serious, in-depth conversation on that? Because I can bring on a guest who can lay this all out for us.
Wait, what are we
If
talking
Captain
about?
America ages normally,
like the whole
because he's technically a normal human that's just been injected.
the
with
whole
serum.
Marvel. Yes,
It's
I know.
true.
I
He's
know.
technically
What-
Lance
what does
Armstrong.
this-
He just
what
got
does the
better
serum-
oxygenated blood.
Right. And everybody is fine with that because he's a freaking American soldier. Just because he doesn't play sports, everybody's
It's
okay
because-
with it.
It's because it's not cheating if you're killing your enemies.
It's true. As
Oh
long as
my
you're going
goodness.
After, as long as you're going after Nazis, everybody's fine with it.
And on that note, we'll be right back.
This is real to me, man. So real.
One 402-799-1811. That is the message line number. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, we would love to hear from you. You can text or call that line anytime, 24/7, and we will not answer unless we're
But-
live, and then we will answer because that'd be fun.
If you have complaints, there's a separate number. It is Tombstone at the
frontporchshow.com.
Do you remember that rejection hotline?
Oh yes,
Where you could give
Do you
people the
remember
phone
yes, yes. How many times did
Is
you
that-
get that, Ozzy?
Yeah, how many times
Is
did you get it,
that-
Ozzy? Is that why you remember it?
still, I think I got it from Jeff. Actually.
Well, was that before or after you were roommates?
We were never roommates.
No, we
Oh,
were
you
never
weren't?
roommates.
Oh, for some reason I
No.
thought you were.
No, we were just awesome.
You and I. were
I
roommates,
was
Travis.
I had that privilege.
That's so nice. All right. Anyway,
That was a weird year, guys.
Yep.
That was a weird year. Ozzy was down the hall. Were you even in our dorm?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Dude,
Yeah, I was gonna say you were
literally-
right down the
All
hall.
I
right.
was literally
All right.
like kitty corner to you.
We're-
Mathis
okay,
is
okay.
basically Joe Biden at this point.
Guys,
Seriously.
guys, 15 years ago, that's a long time.
All right, corn pop. Stop playing with your leg hair and try to remember this story here.
So we are going to dive into the topic of the week.
right after corn pop. Yeah.
right
That's-
after.
I didn't time that well. I
That's-
was
no,
trying to make
no.
fun of Mathis.
No.
You really
here.
didn't, man. You really didn't.
No. No.
Minneapolis is
Going off the chain.
yeah.
Burning?
It's bad. Riots are taking place all over the country.
Is that a true statement?
That's-
Are there
It is,
actual
it is,
riots?
it is,
I've
yeah.
seen protests in other
So,
cities.
Atlanta-
Are they
I've seen-
actually to the level of riots?
Atlanta destroyed CNN Plaza.
Okay. All right.
I don't think I disagree with that.
I see
All right, well,
Dallas
sorry.
Dallas right
Before
now.
we dive into all this, I guess we should go back to what started it. Though.
So-
Obviously,
Yeah.
everyone knows at this point. But
So
let's
yeah,
start at the beginning.
in case you've been living under a rock, what ended up
I've been
happening
trying to.
is in Minneapolis, a police officer, by the name of, is it
Chauvin?
Chauvin? I see. I don't want to mispronounce his name. Derek Chauvin was apprehending George Floyd, who was 46, and he was kneeling on Floyd's neck,
Right, on like the back/side of his neck.
So-
I guess?
back/side of his neck, and he died while in custody.
Yeah. So this,
Yes.
police were called. The police were called to this corner store, marketplace, whatever, because there was suspected fraudulent. What's the word I'm looking for?
Forgery,
Forged
bills.
$20 bill was passed.
Yeah.
The person. This is where people are going to start with their arguments, even with this statement. But whether they describe George Floyd directly or whether he fit the description, the police showed up. He's there. He's in a vehicle. There's several different camera angles of the interaction.
Right.
It does not
several people on
appear.
smartphones.
Several people it does not appear from all the camera angles that he really truly resisted anything. You
Yeah.
can see him kind of verbally arguing with the police to the extent of like, "Hey, man,
Understandably so.
which I
Right.
think I can, if you believe you're innocent, I think I
Been
can
there,
totally
done that.
understand. But his hands are behind his
Did-
back.
did-
He goes
so-
into the cuffs.
I didn't watch the video, Jeff. Did the cops
Oh, you
approach
didn't?
the car with guns?
I don't know.
No,
Because
from the
that was
video-
what everyone was
was-
saying. Because that's
I
what the
can go
media is
back.
purporting, is that the
could go
cops
back.
approached the video with firearms drawn.
That I'm not sure.
And so-
the video I saw, he was already on the ground. I didn't see.
I
the
saw
other
I
video.
saw the updated videos yesterday, and I was looking more for the interaction between everyone.
So
and
I guess my initial thing here is if they were approaching the car with guns drawn already, why were they doing so?
here the
Right.
video's up again because my initial memory when you asked me this is they're not approaching with guns drawn. So let's see. Here they are at the vehicle. This guy has a flashlight. All right, so the guy on the
We
right
are
side of the
not
vehicle-
showing this on the YouTube. If you guys want to find that, you guys can go see that on your
Yeah.
own.
It's a rough video.
Let's see. Well,
It's very rough.
this is the initial video from a security camera. Nope. Okay, so the two officers that just are approaching the vehicle right now, before anyone's out of the vehicle,
guns were drawn,
guns
right?
are not drawn. Their
Oh.
guns are in the holster. They both have their flashlights out and are shining
Okay.
their flashlights through the darkened window. Now, this guy looks like on the driver's side. Okay, his hand goes
So-
to his belt, but he might be making a radio call. I can't see his hand. He's talking to somebody in the driver's side. He's got his hand down on his belt.
So is it dark?
No, it's
No.
daytime.
Okay.
His hand comes off his belt. He may.
Getting professional analysis here
The
from Jeff.
guy on the driver's side may have just drawn his gun
Okay.
and pointed at the car, but I can't see it. But I don't know that he is because his partner on the passenger side is just standing around with this flashlight and his hand at his side.
Okay.
And you would think if the guy at the front went you would think if his partner had his gun drawn, he would have his gun drawn. You know
So
what I'm saying?
inconclusive on the gun drawn.
Inconclusive on the guy, but they did not approach. When they walked up to the vehicle, they had
Okay.
flashlights in their hand and they were generally chill
Okay.
body language.
Right.
The police
Okay.
officers approaching.
All right.
So the interaction starts. They talk to people in the car. They get some people out of the car. They eventually put George Floyd in cuffs near this wall over here. Then they walk him across a crosswalk to the back of a police vehicle. And as they kind of take him off, it's a low curb, but it looks like as he steps off the curb toward the back of the police vehicle, he like stumbles and goes to the ground. And at that point, that's when they kind of get him on the ground. They pin him down. And he's laying on his chest, handcuffed, hands behind his back, head to the side, and the one police officer is kneeling on the side of his neck. And I
Right.
guess they stayed that way for how many minutes?
Nine-
It was
nine
a
minutes.
while. Yeah.
And then another angle has now shown that there was like two or three other officers on his back. as well during all this. So he had at least, I think, 3 officers on him, another officer standing by and watching. And the guy stayed kneeling on his neck the whole time, saying that he couldn't breathe. And eventually he went limp. And then when the paramedics showed up, they checked for pulse multiple times and he was pronounced dead.
So the question is,
so the initial coroner's report is that there is no signs of strangulation or asphyxiation. However, it's believed that existing medical conditions plus the strain put on his body. So in other words, there's not the signs of straight up, like the knee didn't strangle him straight up.
Okay.
But the pressure of 3 men on his body and his neck plus pre-existing medical conditions, it's still the action still led to his death.
Yes.
Right.
The knee didn't choke him out.
Which fit the definition of
actions,
manslaughter, correct?
Exactly. We got this for another episode.
Or murder 3.
I think he's been charged. Well, we're jumping ahead again, but the officer has been charged with both murder 3 and manslaughter.
Okay.
There in
Wow.
Minneapolis, I believe, is what the last
wild guesses on my part there. Yeah. So he has been charged. So what we've got here, we've got video of the entire altercation. We know exactly what happened. We know the situation. The only thing we don't know right now is the motives. And was there motivation? Was there racial motivation on the side of the police officers that caused this situation?
Right. So, yeah. Here's the thing. It's obviously bad.
Right. It's obviously a bad situation. A man was killed in police custody. It's bad.
Whenever anyone dies, whether they pulled a gun on the police and caused their own death, or whether it's completely unjustified like this, obviously it's bad whenever anyone dies. This situation appears to be a completely avoidable situation.
Yeah.
It obviously appears to be bad policing. Again, I'm not a police officer, but I don't see, unlike some of these situations where the narrative immediately gets run with by the media, and you see a lot of people that are more, they usually tend to fall on the right side of the political spectrum, and they're more pro-police and more pro-law and order. You see a lot of people come out and say, well, no, this guy was resisting and he had this history of this, and actually he had a weapon. And no, you're seeing none of that. At least I'm not seeing any of that. I mean, literally everyone is like, this was
this was a legit
this was
bad.
Yeah. And as we dive deeper into this issue here in a minute, again, I'm getting ahead of myself because it's so hard to just go in order here. But this is what's so frustrating to me about this situation is, here's a tragedy that A, should have never have happened. It is avoidable.
Right.
But B, could actually be a massively unifying thing to help bring about some needed reforms and changes.
Yeah.
And whether intentionally or not through the actions of some bad actors, I don't know. We can explore that, but it's being pushed in a direction to actually cause more division instead of unity. And that's what's driving me nuts.
Look, but here's a couple little points. Look who's causing division, and that's if you can see who's trying to cause the division, you can see who wants the power.
Correct. Because division creates a chance.
Division creates a chance to grab power, and if you see who's trying to build the division, you can see who's trying to destroy.
So let me counterpoint a few things just for the sake of discussing them out, whether I believe these things or not. So one thing, Mathis, is you kind of went from the stance of, okay, so we know everything that happened. We just don't know if these specific officers were racially.
Yeah, was it racially motivated? I think that matters.
I think it matters, but I think that the counter argument from those that believe differently than us is going to be policing in general is racially motivated. That if Ozzy was the guy in the video who was suspected of passing a forged $20 bill, the police wouldn't have put him in handcuffs. They'd have stood there and talked to him.
Right.
Oh, and then is that a legit concern?
And if they did put him in handcuffs and then he fell down, they wouldn't have stayed on his back for 10 minutes.
I guess that's a question I have. Is that a legit concern? I mean, based on the anecdotal evidence and based on the media's portrayal of it, then yes, that is an issue.
See, anecdotally, it's an issue. I legit want to do like a full-on master's level thesis study almost on some of these numbers. Not that I have the time.
Because
or
I
energy to
haven't
do
seen
that.
actual numbers come out either way, and that's what concerns me, I guess.
But
Yeah.
data-wise, man, so in trouble. Data-wise, I don't tend to believe that there is the massive racial bias that the media and some on the left claim. Are there some issues? Yes. In some places with some people, there are some issues. I think that some of the stuff that's thrown around by the media that tries to prove racial bias is actually a twisting of statistics of, I mean, I don't even know how to say it. Like there's at some point, if you're in law enforcement, there's statistics of crime commissions in different areas for different types of crimes. And then there's descriptions, and I get it. There are issues. Like the thing is people conflate a bunch of different things. They talk about, there was this one where this guy was at a gas pump. I've read this one several times. Like there was a guy at a gas pump somewhere getting gas, and the white lady, it was like nighttime, and the white lady the next pump over, I guess, called the police because she was uncomfortable by this guy getting gas. And the police show up and they keep questioning him, why you here, why you doing this? He's getting gas at a freaking gas pump in the evening because his car needed gas. And supposedly, according to this story, this is all anecdotal, that the cops kept questioning this guy and detaining him until some other white guy came over and said, look, I've been here the whole time. The guy rolled up and got gas. And he came from, and I guess the premise behind all of this is there was a robbery earlier down the road in one direction. This lady saw him at the pump and was saying he fit the description of the guy in the robbery. The claim in the anecdotal story is that the only way he fit the description was he was black. Size, build, a bunch of different things. He didn't fit the description. The police showed up and were questioning him though. And then this other white guy finally came over and said, no, he didn't come from that direction. He came from that direction. He's just here getting gas. And as soon as that white guy stepped in, then the police backed away. That was an anecdotal example of where they're saying there's this racial animus here.
Right. Gotcha.
Now, I think on the part of the lady who called and just is like black guy, and they said a black guy committed a robbery, there's probably some racial issues there that need to be addressed. Yeah. The police showing up and thoroughly questioning because a call came, I don't know that I can fully believe that there's systemic racism there, because with watching Live PD and some of these other things, watching YouTube videos of police interactions, I feel like it goes the other, like if the description was some white looking guy from this direction, once somebody calls you in, let's be honest, despite what we want to believe, if you've been called in as a potential subject, when the police show up, they operate that you're guilty until you can prove you're innocent. That's just how they operate as far as for their safety and looking into the situation. Like, have I committed well, no, you're not under arrest. You're detained till we figure out who you are, until you give us ID. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how they operate in general. And so without having, seeing that specific interaction that was given as anecdotal evidence, I can't say whether there's systemic racism on the part of
So it seems like
forces.
what you're saying though is that there may be a bigger issue with the police force as a whole. Like our policing may actually be a bigger issue. It may not be racially motivated. It may just be we have a police force that doesn't really respect civil liberties.
Correct. And that's where there could have been there still is a chance for such unity out of this situation, is if you have a greater respect for civil liberties and a greater respect for individual rights, and you truly stick to the innocent until proven guilty. If you stick to these things that are supposedly enshrined in our Western legal system, you could limit a lot of these interactions. And I think that at times, what is just government overreach policing and this mindset, I read something one time, it really stuck with me, but when we went from like the police officer, Andy Griffith sheriff mentality almost, to the law enforcement officer. We're not out here like protecting your rights and helping you out. Now we are out here making sure you don't speed, don't run red lights, don't sell on loose cigarettes, don't, whatever.
When I see the sheriff's department roll up in an MRAP.
Yeah. With the militarization of the police force, it has led to this more enforcement. We're here as your hall monitors to crack down on you,
Right.
not as we're
And
here to help you out in an issue
And I think going along with that is I was watching something the other day that was talking about this too, is that with the police officers, I think that like you were saying, the Andy Griffith style policing is dying out. And with that, you have to have police who know exactly what they can and cannot do. They have no excuse to not know anymore. There is too much. There's too many cameras. There's too much accountability. There's too many potentials for things looking bad.
And I get
and I think that that's a greater responsibility on them. But you have, like, anybody can access any of the laws, and anybody can post anything on YouTube. Anybody can do this. That we've gone away from that. The nice sheriff who knows his community, knows every single person, talks to everybody, is just walking through. If you have a problem, you can get with him. Kind of like the buddy, right. The buddy kind of system. In that this is what you are, is you need to, if you're going to be all about laws and what we can and can't do and doing these things to people, you need to make sure that you absolutely can do those things, that it is, and there is no room for error anymore.
And the thing, like you're saying,
good and bad.
I get I have several friends who are in law enforcement or were formerly in law enforcement, and I get the frustration, because I think any of us are this way, right? Like if in our jobs, people were constantly that don't understand the ins and outs of our jobs, that show up to a situation without any prerequisite of what just went on for the last half hour. They show up and stick a camera in our face and are like, I'm recording you and I'm going to get you fired. And they don't have any clue what's going on. They don't really have any understanding of any policies or procedures. And they just show up and harass us and take videos of us and put lies out about us on Facebook. I understand that that's frustrating and that would hamper our jobs and we would all hate it. However, in my job, I don't really have the right to the almost unlimited power to infringe people's rights.
Yeah.
And I understand police officers don't actually have that, but you literally can't. We talk all the time about these are my rights, and I'm gonna, whether we carry guns or whatever we do, I'm gonna stand up for my rights. But in the end, really, your only option without like becoming a total felon and getting in trouble is to take it, to just stand there and take it while verbally expressing your dissent, and later on take legal action if you can afford it. That's really your only redress in these situations.
Right.
So you really can't push back until it's all over and you've already had your rights violated. Right. So to some extent, without all the cameras and pushback, they have almost unlimited power when they show up and take over a situation. They would argue they don't, but they kind of do. And so that's why this type of accountability, well, it's frustrating and it may interfere with their work. It may slow their work down. It may result in some bad guys getting away. I think that this type of oversight is absolutely necessary, because while it's frustrating when you're watching the live PD episode where the guy is clearly high on drugs and lying and futzing around, and it takes them a half hour to get an ID on the guy, and like you just like look at this waste of time and taxpayer dollars, and there's 6 people that don't know what's going on sticking cameras in their face the whole time or whatever. That's a little frustrating, but I will take that frustration to not have 4 guys kneeling on a guy's back for 15 minutes and end up killing him. You know what I'm saying? So what does Uncle Ben tell Peter Parker? With great power comes great responsibility, and I think that if you're going to be in law enforcement, you just got to live in a glass house.
So I got to ask, based on that glass house, I mean, this guy, supposedly this cop had been under investigation before.
Now
he looks like he's got a speckled past.
It doesn't look good.
I'm going to caution this when these things immediately come out in these investigations. Just because because that's their immediate claim, is he's been investigated like a dozen times and they've all been dropped, or he's had complaints. And this, remember, if they're going to live in a glass house, if we're going to operate this way, that means that literally, and this is frustrating to a department too, but I would be fine with this, that literally every complaint that comes in that even has the tiniest shred of possibility to it gets investigated. So you could go, if you've got a 20-year career in law enforcement, you could have 24 complaints against you because you watch live PD. How many people complain that their arm is being torn out of socket, that they're being tortured, that they're, whatever, and they're perfectly fine. Okay. So people just do it as a leverage thing to try to not get in trouble. So complaints are going to be brought against you that end up not being legitimate. So to immediately say this guy has X number of complaints against him, like that number, that statistic alone, it's just like when pro law enforcement people in a situation immediately go, well, this guy had 5 prior arrests for petty theft or whatever. It's a factor. It's a factor that may color how police show up if they know that you're the guy with this history when they show up to interact with you. However, your past crimes don't play into the current situation. If you're innocent right now, you're innocent right now. It doesn't matter what you've done in the past. So that applies to both sides. Now, in this case, with some of these instances that are being discussed with this officer, it does sound like this officer has a speckled past that is an issue. So listeners, don't think I'm defending this specific guy. What I am trying to do is set down the objective standards that we should use when we come into any one of these situations. And past investigations don't mean he's bad. And past investigations that have been dismissed or have found not guilty don't mean that the entire department is covering up corruption.
Right.
But at the same time,
so
it could indicate something.
So let's pivot to what's happening now.
As a result.
So
the backlash.
One thing that happened is the University of Minnesota is limiting the ties with the Minneapolis police.
That's interesting.
They have previously hired them to come in for sporting events and for other things that they need, for other policing needs, and they are no longer going to be using the Minneapolis Police Department. And this is based on a complaint from the student legislature. Who requested that they break ties with them, and so the university acquiesced to this.
And this is where you see universities are no longer controlled by adult faculty; they're controlled by the college students that are there, who are,
Yeah, and maybe this was the right thing. I don't know, but we're not going to know that until there's an investigation.
Right.
And I think that
the problem is the backlash, like on decisions like that. That's much too quick.
Yeah. And
although I mean, I guess it's their right to call or get a different security.
Yeah.
Security.
Yes.
So I mean, maybe it's not that big of a backlash.
They're their own institution. Their student legislature called for something. They decided to acquiesce. It's their call.
It is.
I think the trouble is the statement that the students are sending and they're trying to send is that we think the entire Minneapolis police force is a bunch of racist pigs, and we don't want to associate with them. I do think that at least it seems to be that there's obviously some sort of issue. I don't know that it's necessarily racial, like you said, Mathis, but more civil liberties issue with at least this group of police officers, because 4 of them are there.
And don't get this wrong. It may be racial. It may be racial.
There may be racial as well. It very well may be.
There may be. And we could have on this police force a systemic issue that needs to be dealt with.
Right. We don't know. This video doesn't prove either way if it's systemic in this police force.
Right.
These 4 guys standing here, nobody had the guts to say, "Hey, man,
yeah, that's an issue."
There's 3 of us that have them down. So there's a guy. I haven't watched his full response video. I honestly was watching it last night and then fell asleep. The channel Warrior Poet Society with John Lovell. I've actually want to reach out to him and see if we can get an interview with him at some point. But he offered a response to this, and he was talking about. I mean, he just straight up said, if you need to take a man who's in handcuffs and is on the ground And you are either such a coward or such a pansy that you have to. This was his statement. So this isn't even my opinion. This was this former special operator, firearms instructor. He teaches a lot of law enforcement guys as well. You know, he's saying if you're such a coward and a pansy, because this is not in your SOPs, that you have to stay on this guy's neck with your knee when he's in cuffs. If you can't handle, especially with 3 other partners right by to help you,
Right.
if you have to keep a guy in this type of submission to keep him under control when he really hasn't been fighting the whole time anyways, what kind of either coward or pansy are you, and you can't do your job? That was basically his statement.
And the other thing is they had a vehicle right there.
And these, yeah, get him up and put him in the back of the vehicle.
Put him in the back of the
So
vehicle.
they claimed he fought when they tried to put him in the vehicle and would not sit down in the vehicle.
See, as far as I could tell from the video, so there's a couple times where he's obviously verbally kind of sparring with them. When they're trying to guide him different directions to get him walking to go across the crosswalk, you know how it is. He's looking this way and trying to talk to this guy. This guy's pulling his arm and wants him to go this way. He looked like maybe he had a little limp or something anyways, like the way he walked. And so like there's a couple stumbles where they're trying to guide him one direction and he thinks he's supposed to be walking another direction. There's some stumbles when they're trying to get him to the car. And then when he steps off the curb and they go to the car, he goes to the ground. From the angles I saw, it was hard to tell, was he fighting going in the car, or was it just kind of your typical like, hey, take your hands off me, man, and then he tripped because there's 3 different people trying to tell him to go 3 different directions. Either way, it was not like a knockdown, drag out fight to not get in the car.
Right. And he didn't seem like he was like out of it, because you run into those people where it's just they are just completely
stoned out of their mind, drunk out of their mind. Yeah.
Right. And they
will not cooperate.
They pose a extreme hazard or danger because, you know, maybe those drugs, you know, have their adrenaline rushing and they're trying.
Yeah, they have no control over
that. Right. And they just go literally psycho, and
he did not appear to be
in
that state.
Right. He didn't seem like he was fighting. Well, didn't seem like he was fighting them, especially when he was on the ground. He kept asking him if they could get up, if he could get off his neck. Can't breathe, he can't do this, he can't do that, and whatever. And
the one thing, the minute you see anyone in handcuffs on Live PD or any other show, like I've said a couple times, the minute you're hurting my shoulder, I've got a bad wrist, oh, you're the back, can you turn on the air conditioning in this police car, it's too warm in here. Like the minute they get in those situations, the skeevy kind of type people always go to all those little things to try to get whatever power they can have in the situation, right? Like you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So obviously but I see that when they're sitting up on a curb, fully sitting up, the handcuffs are like they got like 2 separate sets of cuffs on them hooked together. So they've got plenty of room for their arms to move. They're giving the guy a bottle of water and he's still sitting there complaining. Like, I don't mind if the cops ignore his complaints at that point because the guy's just messing with you. When there are 3 guys on a guy's back and a knee on his neck and he's saying, I can't breathe, I don't think he's lying to you and messing with you.
And then he lost consciousness.
Well, right.
And at that point, get off him. Still, right. And then they were still on top of it. And it's like, dude, somebody needs, and I understand that the ambulance came fairly quickly because it showed up. I'm just saying it came fairly quickly. But why are you waiting for that? Like, you still have a responsibility to that person to make sure that they are okay.
Because I've seen the videos where guys had a gun. It took 3 officers to disarm him. They get him down on the ground. He's fighting so hard they can't even get cuffs on him. So literally they have 3 guys on him with 1 guy on his neck because they can't get cuffs. So one guy is just holding his arms because he's fighting them so bad. One guy's on his head, the other guy's on his legs, and they have him that way till the ambulance shows up or another police car shows up they can put him into. That's one thing. This guy was not doing any of that. And what I think we were getting to before we got off on this was that, so there's obviously some issue with at least this group of police officers where there's some sort of culture where even if one of them had misgivings about what was going on, nobody had the gall to speak up and say anything.
Yeah.
So even if some of the guys here were going, this is wrong, we should get off him, they're all just standing there going, well, we can't speak up.
Well, I keep seeing the comment going around the internet, you know, Well, for every 1,000 cops, there might be 10 bad cops. But if the other 1,000 cops don't speak up, there's 1,010 bad cops.
And I understand the responsibility of unions protecting their members, et cetera, et cetera. But when investigations like these things go on, like if you're here's a danger that I see sometimes in these situations. There obviously needs to be a strong brotherhood in jobs like this, because you need to be able to trust your partners and trust the guys you work with. And I think brotherhood is a big thing guys crave in like military units and the police force and firefighters and in any kind of job like that, right? But that level of brotherhood should be to each other, but to the mission and to obviously your moral obligation. And so like if you're the chief of these kind of departments and whatever, it might not win you points with some of your more skeevy members, but you should ruthlessly weed out problems. And there tends to be kind of a fallback. And so that and again, without being a former law enforcement officer, I'm speaking anecdotally from things I see, but the gut reaction seems to be fall back and defend your own, versus if he's truly a bad actor, throw him under the bus. It will not make your police department look bad if when the one bad egg is found out, you throw him out and fry him.
Yeah, the public will respect you more.
This public will respect you for admitting this guy's been here several years. He screwed up this many times. This was a big screw up. He's not even allowed to clean the toilets at a rent-a-cop station.
Yeah.
Just get rid of him, okay?
Yep.
Like, that's what needs to happen. That's what needs to happen in any industry when you have a bad actor. Don't protect him to save face for the industry. Fry his butt so that it saves face for the industry. And I think that there tends to be a little too much of fall back and defend. And I get it, because I'm not the one being accused every single day of every little interaction of racism because I'm doing my job. My radar gun didn't know what race you were when it pinged you at 25 miles an hour over the speed limit. I'm sorry, man. We can argue about whether speed limit should exist for those libertarians out there, but the point being that's not racism. And a lot of times it gets accused in those situations. So I understand the frustration when you are under assault day after day after day with these accusations. But when a real bad actor exists, fry them. Now, they kind of seem to be doing that in this case.
Yeah. And rightly so, which is
great.
Most
police have spoken out that I've seen. And so this is a good thing.
But so now we've got riots going on and looting. And
oh my.
And now the argument is you didn't listen to us when Kaepernick was kneeling. Now we're rioting.
We tried peaceful protest. You mocked us for kneeling. So now this is what you get.
So here we go. You ready? Here's my opinion on all of this. My great opinion on the rioting.
Say goodbye to Ozzy.
Ozzy, we love you. It's been a good ride, man.
That's Tombstone at the Front Porch Show, in case you're preempting on your computer.
I've already got an email started.
Rioting for grievances. Okay. I have a problem with rioting, period. Okay. Rioting is not the best thing to do.
But what if your team wins the Super Bowl?
Then you're Philadelphia. So rioting is never an acceptable thing to do. But with that being said, this is my biggest problem with rioting is you have people who are rioting because of a cause and burning down a police station. I'm not condoning burning down a police station. That shouldn't have happened. But there's a big difference between burning down a symbol of something that you have a problem with
that you view as an oppression,
raiding a store and walking out with televisions and burning down a community.
Yes.
Yeah. What does that have? What does that target? Now, I saw some people claim that Target that got hit refused to sell stuff to the protesters, whether it was like milk because they were getting pepper sprayed or whatever.
Yeah.
Who really cares? At that point, the store manager is just trying to stay out of the middle of all of this. And when you have a bunch of people pouring in saying, sell us this or sell us that, and they just see a riot and a protest going on, they're just going to say, just keep me out of it.
It wasn't just the Target. It was other businesses as well. There was a black-owned business that was raided. They came in and tried to steal his safe.
And
Yes.
this is where you get these
It
are
was
the
a
people,
bar and grill, right? That he had just opened. He put his
Yeah.
life savings into. He had been a firefighter and tried to open this up. COVID hit, and he hadn't actually been able to do the opening yet. So he's already like taking it in the teeth because of these COVID restrictions. And then they come in and demolish his business, a black-owned business.
Yeah.
What did that accomplish? Okay.
and this is why you can see this is the difference of the riots and things that happen. And not back in the 60s, you had the riots happening, which there was good and bad in those, and there was good and bad with the police dealing with it. There was good and bad in all of it, but that they weren't raiding stores for merchandise. They weren't ruining and burning down.
No, Ozzy. It's the same thing as the Boston Tea Party.
Oh,
See, I've seen that accusation made multiple times lately, and I think we've lost track of our history. I actually was struggling with that for a minute. The first time it came out, it just been a while since I'd gone back and addressed it, and I'm like, America does have a history of we don't like you, we come on your ship, we dump your tea in the harbor. But Mathis, you and a couple other people, and I did a little more looking around, and it seems to be the historical record of that indicates that it was actually a very well controlled and organized process. Like 1 or 2 locks were broken. They came on the ships. Everything was left. Some records indicate that the ships were swept clean and almost cleaned up when they left. The specific thing,
Leave it better than where you found it.
exactly. The specific thing that they had issue with,
Was
the
tea.
massive taxation on that tea.
Yep.
And it was, East India Company was basically controlled by the government.
It was the crown.
It was corporatism that you're talking about nowadays too.
Yeah.
They dumped the tea into the harbor, said, you're not going to tax us, cleaned everything up. And the one account even indicates that the lock was replaced that they broke.
Yep.
I mean, I can't.
I
ask the
have
guy
no-
that was
I have
there,
no issue
so
with
I
that type
don't
of
know.
protest.
So I don't
Right.
know how 100% accurate the
Right.
historic record seems to indicate that. And we can have a discussion about whether they still threw private property in the bay or not, but it was very calm and very organized. It wasn't burning down a
Right.
completely unrelated store.
It wasn't
that's-
burning 11 buildings down in Minneapolis and then
Right.
Yeah.
starting riots in other cities.
And that's what I have a problem with is people are having issue with this, and they are using this as an excuse
To lash
to
out.
do criminal activity
Yes,
that you
yes.
wouldn't normally do because, oh, you know what? I can cover it over with this
Okay.
quote unquote riot and
Yeah,
quote
yeah.
unquote
So that-
grievances.
Yeah.
That brings me to the question. How much of this do you think is actually due to this situation, and how much of it is due to people who've been cooped up inside for 10 weeks and are exhausted about being home and are just looking for something to do?
That too.
It's a big mixture. You've got the people that are looking for something to do. You've got the people that are truly grieved over this. You have the people that, true or not, that it's been preached to them, in some cases literally, about the oppression going on. And because now you have people finding and sharing quotes. I have African American people in my Facebook feed, friends of mine, that are very pro-gun, very conservative, that are also almost excusing these riots because they're like, look, we've been oppressed so long, this is what you get. And they're finding quotes like MLK's quote that essentially says something to the effect of, a riot is the voice of the unheard, or something. I wish I had it in front of me. And the point he's making is that if you don't listen to people when they peacefully protest, you're going to end up getting riots. And that's the claim some of these people are making, is you mocked Kaepernick, you threw him out of the NFL. If you believe that, I think his skills just dropped off and he wasn't good enough to keep around with his political baggage.
His
And
skill did not outweigh his crazy.
If he was Tom Brady, they'd have kept him around for his crazy, but he's not. And so he's gone. Because here's the other thing. Kaepernick didn't get it. You can talk about some certain issues and some bad situations. When you're wearing Che Guevara shirts, you don't get jack crap about oppression and mistreatment by government officials. You just don't. You are poorly informed and don't have a clue about history. I'm sorry. Okay. So Kaepernick's an idiot either way. You're right. People kind of ignored or marginalized some peaceful protests. but this riot is not the answer. And like you guys are talking about, there's some bad actors in the group who are just there to use this as an outlet because they want to be bad actors.
This is why I don't have and I hate to say it, this is why I don't so much have a problem with them burning down the police
Yes,
department.
same. I will, Ozzy.
Okay.
I'm going to agree with you on this.
I'm not saying yes. This is what should have been
right.
done.
Exactly.
I don't condone it, but I understand it.
Right.
I can at least understand
that's
that.
what you're trying to say.
You're going after the one thing, or maybe like the Boston Tea Party. You're going after the one specific target of what you think your grievances are. Okay, at this moment in time, it's going to be the police department for this crime.
And so we think that it's not as bad as you think it is. You pushed it too far. You definitely didn't need to go break the windows and burn the place down.
Right.
But that was your targeted protest.
But this isn't Target where you're walking out with televisions. Like, no one broke into the police department and started taking the cars and taking the televisions, taking the computers out.
Well, they might have. I don't know.
Right, but there's not a valuable goods that you're hurting a legitimate business. You are actually, if you want to say, you're actually going after the government and your authorities as opposed to going after your neighbor's property.
What's up with this report that keeps coming around that says that a cop was the one who started the looting at the Target?
I haven't heard that.
See, whenever these situations come out, then you have people, because like there's video of a white kid in like his teens or 20s in all black, like breaking out all the windows of an AutoZone, and actually some other protesters, some black protesters, they're telling him, dude, stop doing this.
How else would he have gotten parts for his rice burner?
and so you're right.
Say that?
I think there's
pretty sure. I mean,
it's
just a Japanese made car or an Asian made car.
But that's racist.
Yeah,
it's not racist.
So like that kid is some Antifa wannabe who sees this as an excuse to stick it to the man, to all the authorities, the rich bourgeoisie, the police. You know what I'm saying. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like you get these guys who have
soccer
been
moms.
fed. You've been fed this line of bullcrap in your political reasoning, and that's where you get some of these Antifa type people out there using this as cover to just.
How's the Walmart doing down there?
You know what I'm saying? So there's definitely bad actors in there. I do not believe that it is to the level. If you can show me some evidence, I'll be on your side and I'll say, get rid of them all. I don't think we're to the level where they're sending undercover police officers to start a looting thing to discredit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The police union is not sending psyops to loot a Target to discredit a claim against them. They're just not. They're not
crazy.
Would the CIA be doing that to cover for something the U.S. government did? Maybe.
No.
But
this is
the
all
local police department's not doing that.
This is all Joe Biden. He's actually not crazy and hasn't really lost his mind.
5D chess.
He's playing 47D outer space underwater chess.
Oh wow, guys, have you seen this pyramid going around the interwebs? This pyramid of white supremacy, overt versus socially acceptable.
What? What you were talking about?
Yes.
What is it called?
This is. I sent it to you guys in the chat. This is the pyramid of white supremacy, and while some of this stuff I do agree with, and I definitely see it, it links in basically everything that progressives and the hard left parts of our country, it dumps everything that they don't like down in the bottom.
Yeah. For example,
Make America
Great Again.
That is white supremacy.
Denying you have white privilege.
That is white supremacy.
Is white supremacy. Color blindness is white supremacy. English only or Eurocentric curriculum. Let's see.
Now, a
housing
lot of-
discrimination.
Wait. So the N word is white supremacy. So there's like all these black rappers are white supremacists secretly.
No, because they're saying it differently, and it's okay for them.
I don't understand, but okay.
So
Yeah,
wait.
I'm
So
not
what
going
you're
to get
saying,
into that on the air, but I've
so
had
what
that
you're
explained to me
saying
multiple
is,
times.
yeah. Oh my gosh. So what you're saying is
Anti-immigration
that
policies
the
are
meaning of
also
the
white
word can just
supremacy.
mean whatever you want it to mean. as long as you're
Literally,
using it in-
celebration of Columbus Day
What
is under covert white supremacy.
is it? That's
Bootstrap
weird.
theory. Pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. Cultural appropriation, which would literally be anything.
I could really use some General Tso's chicken, by the way.
Like,
Ooh, man,
here's the
Mm.
thing.
color blindness.
Then if you're not of the same
hope-
race as
I hope
Edison,
they're
can you
not-
not use a light bulb?
I hope
Like,
they're
is
meaning,
that
like-
cultural appropriation? You know what I'm saying?
I
Like,
hope-
No,
I hope
see,
they don't mean literal
my
color
my
blindness.
point my point for bringing this up is
I'm red, green, colorblind. I'm a racist.
people are so excited to take this whole situation politically, and they want to throw everything into white supremacists, because if they can claim that the American right, if anyone who is semi-conservative is a white supremacist, they win.
And this is why they make it so hard on our end to come out of this for unity, because now you have to I mean, I've seen so many like conservative Christian people who want to make a statement, who want to talk about the death of George Floyd and how it's a tragedy, but you can see the progressive social justice language leaking into what they're talking about and what they believe and the statements they're making on Facebook, and how we just need to sit back and listen to these grievances because we can't understand. We need to listen to people when they're hurting, and there's truth in all of this stuff, and we need to care about it. But literally, in a discussion I had with someone where I am trying to explain my worldview, so a post was put out, Trump's tweets. Trump had like a double tweet because character limits, about how the rioters and the looters in Minneapolis are dishonoring George Floyd's memory. The rioting needs to stop. The mayor and the governor need to get it under control. This is where Trump goes off the edge. Then he starts saying, if you can't get it under control, we'll send in the military. I assume he means National Guard because he can't send in the military. And then at the end, he says, somewhere in there, he makes a comment about these thugs that are rioting and looting. They're dishonoring the memory. And then he says at the end, when the looting starts, the shooting starts. Okay, man, he had like a perfectly nailed tweet till the last sentence of when the looting starts, the shooting starts. Like, give me a break, man. Like, what? Me defending my own home and my own property, I technically have no problem with that statement, probably. But when you're the president of the freaking United States, you have to show some leadership, and that statement is not good leadership.
No,
However,
it's not.
However, so these two tweets get shared and talked about. See, here's this racism. This is why everything's so bad. The president is a big racist, and he's talking about killing these people and blah blah blah. So I commented in essentially to the line of,
which is a big mistake.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, why
I knew
haven't you
it was
learned not to
happening.
dialogue on Facebook or Twitter?
Well, yeah, I was gonna try to engage with this guy. The thing is he's a former coworker of mine. He's African American. I was hoping to get a discussion with him. He never replied. He never replied to me. Another white progressive liberal with what would technically fall in that covert racism of his white savior complex.
Okay.
I think he's the one that engaged me. He's the one that engaged me, and my statements were essentially the effect of, "Give me a break. Trump is not a racist. The death of George Floyd is a tragedy and it's wrong and it needs to be addressed. Looting and rioting is also wrong and needs to be addressed." These are my points. I was told that the word thug is a dog whistle, and if I can't see that, I have my head in the sand. And I'm like, literally, even some people will try to use that, I'm sure, probably, because they can't get away with saying other words. Literally, even the Urban Dictionary does not put racial overtones or undertones on the word thug. It means violent rioters and looters, criminals. Okay. So I got in this discussion with this guy, and I'm trying to explain to him how my worldview dictates that all men are created equal. because we're all created in the image of God. Everyone's life has the same value. That's why this is a tragedy. It's also wrong to burn cities down and steal people's stuff in reaction to it. And I just got comeback after comeback about you don't understand the difference between what's the law and the enforcement in the disproportionate enforcement and oh, your nice little neat worldview. You don't understand enough to be able to judge politics. And like I said, he's like, did you really just pull out the I'm colorblind, we're all Americans, I don't see black people and white people? And I'm like, no, like I obviously see the differences in people, and I know he doesn't mean literally, but like we all see people differently and judge people differently at times, whether we try to or not. But in the end, what I'm saying is my worldview says everyone has the same rights. You have me on your side about this. But then you're going a step further and saying because you believe these rights have been so grossly infringed for so long, which I disagree with that narrative, that there's this massive oppression taking place. But because you say that's the narrative, it's now okay for them to riot and burn things down. Like he goes, one of his comebacks was to the effect of, so how come it's all bad? These guys are thugs. Everyone's calling them these names and it's bad. But when a bunch of white guys go burn a city down because their team won a Super Bowl or lost a Super Bowl or whatever. And I'm like, I also call those guys thugs and it's wrong. Like, what are you trying to say here? No one says, oh, it's cool that the Eagles fans burned down Philadelphia because their team won.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's wrong.
We call them Eagles fans.
Yeah, we call them Eagles fans, and that's a big slur. No, like, so what the progressive left has preached for so long is that everything is oppression. Everything is like I wanted to ask the guy, so what term can I use for violent people who steal and destroy property? That's the term I want to use. That's why I'm using the word thug. What word is okay for me to use to describe those kind of people? Because that's what I'm trying to describe. But you can't surrender the language because then eventually you run out of words that you can say. And that's where we're at, is they've slowly taken the language from us.
Okay.
Everything's a dog whistle.
So far, you've gotten about 10 of these things. You need to go towards fearing people of color and don't blame me because I never owned slaves.
And like you're playing bingo with the things on there.
He's playing bingo with your words, Jeff.
And it's just so frustrating.
You're doing pretty well. I mean, you got,
and that's the claim. The claim is
like
that
10 of the 30.
they're more afraid. The officers are more afraid of black men when they interact with them versus white men. And we've seen videos where that may be true. And so I'm not saying that racism does not exist ever in anyone. I'm saying that we all have prejudices. We're all taught by certain things to fear certain things, but that the systemic, they're out to get you, that is preached by the progressive left to intentionally divide, I don't believe that narrative.
Now, do you think, because I'm starting to gradually change some of my viewpoints because I am progressive, unlike you pricks. No, but I am starting to change some of my views on some of this. Not crazily, but you know, with certain things with law enforcement, like this is the hard part that I have, and I have a hard time justifying where is there actual, like, I guess, undertones of discrimination. Okay.
The claim would be the disparity in arrests or the disparity in
it looks that
jailings.
there potentially is something, and that there is a system that is geared more towards I don't know how to say this without sounding absolutely insane.
Just say it. We'll attack you for it.
That is geared more towards, okay, there is the potential. Okay, so we have this crime that happened with Floyd. Okay, that looks horribly bad.
Correct.
Horribly bad. How do we know that this is not happening?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? I'm saying, like,
I
just
agree.
for
I
just a
agree with
minute,
you, Ozzy,
how
and
do you
it's a
how do
concern.
you suspend belief? Because this is stuff that, okay, may or may not ever be reported, and who's going to believe the victim? You know, because the person is black, or because whatever else. I mean,
so you think
well,
that's
we're
what's
going off
happening?
of that.
You think
I
that's
don't
what's
know.
happening is that
I don't
police
know.
are just going around violating the crap out of people, and
I
other people don't believe them because they're black.
I think that there is somewhat of a possibility with it.
You
I don't think that it is. I don't think that it is a largely happening thing.
So it's
But-
not systemic.
Not
it
systemic,
happens
no,
in
but I
places,
think-
but it's not because here's
Right.
what the race theory on the left is
I'm not
teaching.
saying that it's full in all of this, but you have to look at, okay, and we're talking about how police are needing to start changing from, you know, the old school way to the new school, I guess, if you want to put it in those terms. So you have the older guard of police that are starting to go out and die down and retire. Not die down, sorry, I didn't mean that,
Yikes,
but
this is just
that
dark.
are starting to retire, that are starting to go out. Okay, and then you have new police officers. All right. So are we just assuming that there isn't, because of the brotherhood that's in there, the expectation from the older people? And again, this is not something that I'm just assuming is running rampant. I'm just hashing this out.
I'm trying to follow.
But that there is not racial biases or biases because of the 40 years of service and going through the 70s, 80s, 90s that are still being pushed into newer recruits and into the mentoring from one to the other.
In some places, somewhere, maybe. You know, here's a question. Is it a biasy if it follows a statistic? So if in a certain area,
But-
statistically, this type of person commits this type of crime,
Is the statistic warped because of
valid
Because-
question.
because of
Because
okay, well,
statistics can be twisted. Valid
Right.
question.
and that's the question, is it more statistical? And I don't think the statistics are off by that much, I would have to say, but is it abnormally skewed because, you know what, I took this person in as opposed to letting this person off, and there's just a report for this and not for this?
It's a question,
You know?
because you've got that yeah, no, that is a valid question.
It's just
I
like
think
our
the
argument with the
trouble is-
COVID stats.
I think
Right.
If you're not
the trouble
testing, if you're not
is-
testing, you don't
don't
know.
the trouble is where we tend to lose the middle ground, and we can't come together and like ask some of these questions rationally, is that the predominant theory fueling this kind of stuff on the left right now is that truly, systemically, socially, economically, educational wise, that it's all out to get minorities. They are purposely forced into a lower social strata, not allowed to rise up, not allowed to get jobs, not allowed to get money, kept in lower income neighborhoods, that socially, economically, educationally, they are forced into these roles. It's no choice of their own. They can't get out of it. For them to, and this is the bootstrap theory now, they'll tell you that you're white. If you say that you just need to overcome obstacles in your life, that's your white privilege talking, because you didn't have as many big obstacles and the system's not against you. That's what they'll say. And so they say that, and they literally get around to the point where, so a lot of the crimes these guys get arrested for, even if they get to the point where they acknowledge that the higher crime rates and the crime stats, they'll say that, but they're forced into that life of crime by the systemic, social, educational lack of opportunities. And so it's not their fault. We're forcing them there with our systemic racism.
Now-
So even if statistically there's more crimes by a certain sector of the population, it's not that certain sector's fault. That's the claim.
So-
that's the race theory claim.
So where does the government come involved with this?
Oh wait, they're perpetuating it,
That's the claim.
and
Right.
that's my big
Right.
that's my biggest issue.
Right.
Is that
And-
the
and
government
aren't-
itself is
aren't they?
perpetuating it, and they are
Is
keeping the
some-
middle
aren't they?
class and the poor.
Aren't
Okay,
they?
okay. Here you go.
Yes.
You ready? All right.
Yes.
So, and this is what I'm going okay, so you have people on welfare. You have them in neighborhoods that are. What are you pointing at?
No, I'm your point.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
he's yielding to you for once.
I know. So you have these neighborhoods that people are in. We have seen that, yes, you can. It's very hard to get out. I would say out of the system. You can get out of it, but is our government not stacking the odds against?
They absolutely are
against black people.
See, I don't
because hold on. Because you have, for instance, like Planned Parenthood. What has been the education over the years? Hey, you know what? You don't need to get married. You don't need to do all of these things to have what, the middle class, quote unquote, white, I guess, if you want to say,
I think
people have. And I would say that in some ways it is stacked against, because look at the abortion rate, for goodness sake.
But is that the government stacking?
Yes.
That?
Yes.
In the Planned Parenthood sector, is that the government?
Yes.
Or is that progressive
yes.
activists stacking that?
I would say it is,
which obviously have largely infiltrated the government.
I would say that it is the government under those people,
because it's more by economic strata that they have done this than intentionally by racial strata.
But
for whatever reason, look
at the statistics, though.
But that's what I'm saying. Certain sectors of the population have bought into it more, because look at this. You go back multiple decades
because of education,
and black families were more likely to stay together, to have a family unit than the white family. They've been attacked by this. Why did they buy into it more than the white families?
Because
it was targeted.
Was it targeted to them, or did they buy into it more? That's my.
I would say that it was probably targeted into them. I mean, look at
what ways then?
Look at friggin' Planned Parenthood, for instance.
No, statistically, that's how it played out. My question is examples of, and I'm not saying you're wrong.
It's based on the progressive.
I'm just saying.
With Planned Parenthood, it's based on the progressive eugenics programs.
Yeah,
which was targeted at black people.
That's where I was going.
And so Sanger,
and then I would say
that stuff. Yes.
And then I would say that you had it leapfrogged into education of, you're going through. I mean, good night. It's on PBS. Like, PBS Kids gets into this stuff. Where it's like, oh, you know what? It's fine that you only have one parent. It's fine because look at economic status of having basically a nuclear household. If you have a nuclear household, you are like, that hugely jumps into your economic status of this is most likely where you're going to sit economically. Okay, and I would say that just. As a pinpoint, that is one of the things where it's like, okay, well, you're teaching them to ruin the family. You're teaching young men, you know what, you don't need to be responsible. You're teaching young ladies, you know what, you don't need a man. You don't need anything. You can have kids when you want. If you want, you can have kids.
You can get rid of them if you want.
You can get rid of them if you want. It's specifically, I would say, look at how many Planned Parenthoods are in neighborhoods that are mainly.
We know that Planned Parenthood, although not a government organization in itself, was absolutely directly targeted. We know this from Margaret Sanger, the founder of it, with her eugenics program. We know that was targeted.
All progressive movements are steeped in the eugenics.
Correct, because the whole progressive thing is we're smarter, we're better, we're building the better human.
We're more educated.
We need to get rid of undesirables.
Which is the same reason why you see them pushing the climate change.
No, I'm just kidding.
Climate change. You see them pushing population control and climate change.
Yes,
and all that because it is all an attempt to. It is all an attempt to limit population. And this sounds super conspiratorial, but it's not. This is right out there.
Then you have all of this stuff like the affirmative action stuff. You have all of this stuff where it's these good white people who are helping the black people because the black people can't help themselves.
Which isn't that racist in and of itself?
Well, it is. It really is. It's the white savior complex that's on that.
Right.
Thing.
Wait, isn't that on the list? Hold on.
It is on the list.
Hold on.
But so here's my point: is
self-appointed white ally.
You talk about how the government is targeting them with these things, and I for sure, like Planned Parenthood, some of these government programs definitely target them. But
Right.
but what's frustrating is as you're sitting here talking about it being perpetuated, it's also being self-perpetuated when they vote for and want like the answer.
Right.
Like,
You
to
mean
be
when
honest,
the politicians buy the votes?
with what you're talking about,
Mhm.
the answer would be to kick people off of welfare, to reduce government handouts, to reduce the government encouraging of it's better to not be married because you get more welfare. It's better to have
Right.
more kids off this because you get more welfare. It would honestly be better for the government to just slash and burn a lot of that stuff.
And eventually it would be, but you
But
can't
the answer
do that
now,
right now.
but the answer now is give them more and give them more. But giving more to people in these situations actually perpetuates the problem and makes it worse.
It does because think about it, you're going through 20 plus years of your life into adulthood, okay? And you've always had this under or this education. You've always had this is the reason this is the way it is. This is the reason this is the way it is. So right now, you're right. They are self-perpetuating because that's what they've been taught to do.
But this is, I would argue that this is not just
And I would say the government's
just not a
helping.
racial thing necessarily. To Jeff's point,
It's a social strata
social
thing more
economic-
than a racial thing.
socioeconomic, because I see the same thing happening to a lesser extreme to the middle class. We are completely marginalized as well. Every regulation is economically is set up to keep us in the status. And same thing. It's
You're going to go down a dangerous path where everyone's
I
like,
know.
oh no, poor Mathis can't have 3 of his own businesses open, so he's the same as these people that are being killed for their skin color.
No,
I
and
wouldn't go down
that's not where I'm going with that at all. I'm sitting there saying that I think there is systemic government issues that are pervasive, that are intentionally keeping people where we're at in order to divide, in order to create a power void that they can fill, that only they can solve.
They need to keep people dependent on them so that they can solve the problem.
Yes, that right there, Jeff.
Yes.
And maybe it's just that it happened to be that blacks fit that position at the time, and it's just years later. This is just how everything has turned out, and why it's so horrible for that one people.
And it sucks, guys. It sucks.
I think you're right, Ozzy. I think you have a mixture of it's the progressives that are pushing this ideology. Progressivism is steeped in racism, and so obviously they're going to target what they view as undesirables with their plans.
Right.
At the same time, if they were just looking for a group that would help, that they could make appeals to create power voids, to create situations where they could be in control. You take a group that's starting to do pretty well, that we've gone through some terrible dark times in our history. Like,
oh, absolutely,
slavery is wrong.
Oh, absolutely.
Slavery is, if I could go back and just nuke the first idiot that brought slaves in this country and solve a huge part of our history, I would do it.
Let's build a time machine, Jeff.
Let's build a time machine. Go kill baby Hitler. Like,
how about,
it's that kind of thing.
You wanted to build like a hot tub, right?
Yeah. Oh, time machine, hot tub time machine.
But, oh boy,
don't watch that movie.
No.
But
don't. The point being, and see, now you've thrown me
off.
Sorry, Jeff. Sorry.
The point being is you take a people group who things were starting to improve. We were not perfect. We're never going to be perfect. We're a fallen human race. But things were definitely improving, I feel like, in race relations in this country and in economic situations for those of minority status, until this stuff started getting pushed, and they literally like reversed it and made it worse to what you guys are saying. And I'm not necessarily disagreeing with your guys' points. I'm trying to draw out versus just saying it was contrived. Like, I'm trying to draw out some of the facts and some of the data here so we can talk about it.
Nobody cares about your facts.
It's just your feels, Jeff.
because there's this very fine line between like what you guys are talking about and the real facts and some of these real things that are happening.
Yeah, man.
Right.
And the major feels that are being preached that are fueling these riots that are being pushed by the same people that are actually causing the problem.
Well,
and that's the trouble is
Yeah.
and that's what frustrates me is you can get me on board with some of these things that initially in my younger years, less informed years or whatever, that I'd have just been like, no, that's a left-wing Democrat thing. And, you know, Rush Limbaugh doesn't, you know, he says you're wrong about that. You know what I'm saying? Like we can easily fall into that left, right. I don't believe it because you say it and you're on the left.
Right.
You can,
gotta be a free thinker, man.
Now,
gotta be a free thinker.
When it's
Free
not
your
left
mind,
or right,
man.
it's what is the government doing to get power and control people?
It's all lies from the government.
We're
No, Ozzy, no.
Yikes.
No tinfoil.
Sorry.
You can basically there's common ground that can be had here.
Right.
But I keep getting scared away from joining any kind of these bigger movements because they are immediately co-opted and fueled by the same people that are causing the problem.
Right.
And that's where my concern with people who are Christians, who are loving, who are trying to love their brother, who are also more maybe to the right side of the political spectrum, but are trying to put politics aside and say we need to come together on this issue. But I see it. I see the language out there, and they are starting to fall. They're starting to use the terms and fall prey to some of this social justice language. And it's weird because in reality, as a Christian and as a conservative, I am for justice and I am for social justice in the true meaning of those terms, right? That everybody deserves equal treatment under the law.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay? And I understand that at times, I understand that technically the law says that exists right now. And to the guy who was arguing with me, I understand that it doesn't play out that way all the time. I totally understand all those points. However, there's a danger. I'm just going to say, and you can call me ignorant and not informed or not. I feel like I'm pretty well informed on this subject. There's as they talk about dog whistles on the right, there are just some terms on the left that when you start falling prey to these social justice terms, this is the stuff that is being preached by the very people that are causing this problem and this divide. And you've got to be very, very careful to focus on the individuals, loving others, seeing them as image bearers, but not giving into this crazy riot divide.
All right, so that we are all image bearers of God, and in so we have equal rights no matter what your race is. And that's why fallen man can't do it. And that's why I don't know that this is ever going to perpetually be fixed, because
it's not going to be perfectly fixed in this fallen world.
Right. That's why we need a theocracy.
The death of George Floyd was wrong. Rioting is wrong. Racism is wrong. You can hold all of those positions together. And that's what we're trying to say.
We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best.
The essence of the American character is to explore new horizons and to tame new frontiers. We must have American dominance in space. Very importantly, I'm hereby directing the Department of Defense and Pentagon to immediately begin the process necessary to establish a Space Force as the sixth branch of the armed forces.
Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Here it goes, boys. Guys.
Just got wasabi in my eye.
So I'm sitting there watching it and I'm like, Ozzy, This is not old school radio. You're not supposed to like take a bump off the board.
Oh, speaking of bump off the board, where did Jeff go?
Oh, we lost Jeff.
Oh well.
He was like, I will have
him anyway.
He was like, I will have nothing in your comments on
that segment went way too long. I'm out of here. I'm done.
I am trying to get back in the video feed, but now this won't let me back into where.
Oh, I'm sorry.
How sad.
I'm sorry. I can't let you back in. It doesn't say I'm letting you back in.
I'm knocking and it says waiting for reply.
So leave and come back again. We'll try that again.
That's so nice. That's so nice.
Oh
my goodness. All right. So
SpaceX guys, SpaceX.
Yeah. The final frontier.
It is.
What's happening with SpaceX?
They had a scrubbed launch Wednesday, right? Wednesday they were gonna launch two guys to.
Why did they call it scrubbed?
I don't know.
What does scrubbed actually like mean? Does it mean like you literally like? Is it from the term like you're scrubbing something? Clean?
Maybe they had to like wipe it off the board, so they call it scrubbed.
Oh, maybe that's possible.
Guys, I just watched them suit up these dudes. I think the suits are much cooler looking than you guys claim.
Pansy suits.
No, okay, these suits are the most. Dude, they're just stupid. They're trying too hard to look super like space movie.
They actually
modern.
look cool. Like you can actually move in them.
They look like horse jockeys.
They look like they're going skiing.
Guys, the suits that our guys are wearing now were designed back in. Well, the ones that they're wearing now were designed by the Russians, which should terrify you. But the ones they were wearing before that were designed back in the 60s
they
and
look
70s.
more.
Yeah, and they work.
I have no problem.
These are more. There's more movement in these. They are.
There?
Yes.
That's probably because they don't have any insulation and they're going to die.
No.
I have no problem with the more streamlined suit. It doesn't need to be big and bulky. Streamline it all you want so it looks cool. Make it look like the ones in what's the movie where he gets left on Mars and eats the potatoes?
That would be Endgame.
You know, like make it look like the Avengers suits. I don't care if you streamline it that much. These guys look like retarded British horse jockeys. They look like they have tall black socks on.
Yep, it's true.
We're bouncing over to the space feed here. Space official feed from
I love how he just completely
on YouTube. I know, I'm totally blew past you. This is I think on the NASA channel, but it's
SpaceX spacesuits.
They're suiting up the guys. They're about to load them into a Tesla. They're going to load the guys into a Tesla and drive them to the launch pad.
There's nothing okay.
That is marketing, boys. That is marketing.
You think?
It's brilliant.
All SpaceX is Elon Musk's marketing.
Yes, and it's brilliant.
You know there was marketing in all the stuff, though. So there was the picture that I sent to the group the other day, and Ozzy and I agree on.
Elon Musk shows, I'm bigger than you.
It shows the two guys standing there next to the Tesla in their retarded jockey suits, and then it shows the original astronauts leaning up against awesome 60s Corvettes in their spacesuits, and both the older spacesuits and the older cars were way cooler.
They were so cool.
Okay, so
these guys do not look cool at all. Like
Tesla technology is cool.
The
electric car,
awesome.
The look of the cool car is not that cool compared to a 60s Corvette.
I agree with you on that.
And the suits,
the Corvette is much cooler, but the suits
look retarded, man.
No.
I just can't do it.
Yeah, they're weird. They do not look like they are viably safe at all. I swear. They went to like Columbia Sportswear.
I wouldn't be surprised
and just bought some like pre-existing jackets that never came out.
Marketing,
we're like, we got these.
Marketing, man. These are not the actual spacesuits. Once they get inside the capsule, they switch into the actual legit spacesuits. These are purely marketing suits.
Do they need actual spacesuits per se though? Like,
I mean if something goes wrong, it's over.
Without one and see.
But I mean, like these are, I don't know. They just don't look. They don't look rugged.
So launch suits are different from the launch suits are different from the.
Because when they're just in the space station, they're just like in a flight suit. They're just
here they go. They're marching out. They're marching out, guys.
Can you imagine like the time it took to get them in there the other day? Can you imagine like you go through all of that, you get in there, then like all right, it's scrubbed. And then, like, the time it just takes to get everybody back.
Oh, I couldn't imagine how many times you took a leak in that suit.
Yeah. Are they
apparently
Are they cathed up, or are they wearing a diaper, or what are they doing?
From my unless these are changed from the original suits, I believe they are diapered.
They were yeah, I'm sure they were diapered in the
believe.
original suits. I wondered if they had some sort of cath or relief tube system.
I'm sure they do. It's probably a racing cath. No, it's a racing cath. It doesn't go in. It goes
like
around.
Racehorse, they don't just like button it up.
No. What in the world, Ozzy?
This is just going down.
Y'all can look that up on Google later.
This is just going down hardcore fast.
No, so it's not an internal catheter. It's.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But, so you're saying it's more of a cath to a bag than a diaper at this point.
Well, no, there's internal catheters and there's external catheters. This is an external catheter.
Yes, and then there's diapers, and we're
And then
saying
there's
it's a
diapers.
catheter, not a diaper.
Yes,
Oh my gosh.
yes. Okay.
It's a pull up.
So what do you think? What are the chances it's happening today, guys? I mean,
I
it
think
looks a
the
little cloudy,
diapers
looks a little
or
windy.
let me give you the weather report here. It looks pretty good.
Thank
In
you,
New
Ozzy.
Jersey, that fan has the temperature going pretty well.
I know, right?
So to answer your question, Oslin, it's kind of what I suspected. The scrubbing a launch or a mission supposedly goes back to World War II-ish era, when all the boards, all the mission boards were all these giant chalkboards, slate boards, and they had to wipe off or scrub off the board when they ended, they had to change the times, wipe it down.
Right.
So that's what it goes back
Well,
to.
there you go.
supposedly.
There you go. All right.
Oh, crazy! So they are
I'm
live.
surprised-
They're live doing a spacewalk right now, by the way, on the International Space Station.
Oh,
They're
well,
cleaning the windows and
So-
planting some
yeah,
flowers.
they
to get
are.
them
They
ready for
legit
arrival.
are.
They're putting out the welcome mat. He's mowing the lawn. He's mowing the lawn at the space station to get ready for the.
I'm over here on the other channel. This is live 24/7. They are outside the space station floating over. It looks like the Atlantic right now.
He's just cleaning. He's just cleaning the solar panels off.
Guys, this is incredible
Water
stuff.
droplets. He shakes.
Is
He
it
shakes the
though?
squeegee.
Yes,
and the
it
water
is.
droplets
I don't
are just-
disagree, but I think you're a little too thrilled.
This
You're
is-
like, they're walking to the ship.
This is high def
I think he's
video
excited about
from
the ones in
space.
space. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
this is the first time we have launched into space from U.S. in 9
Almost a
years?
decade. I
Since
think it's 9 years.
2011, yeah,
Okay, yeah.
which is
So that's
just wild.
That is exciting, and I am excited about this. Is this one of the rockets that, like, the entire rocket comes back down and lands on the pad?
Yes, but they cannot reuse it again for manned space missions.
But they can reuse
So
it,
that's
though.
But
the
they can reuse
stipulation
it.
now. So
I think
now they're
that's
going
the
to use them
stipulation.
once for manned, but then their reuse will be unmanned because of they still aren't sure of the
Yes,
stuff.
I believe
Because
so.
I was kind of
That's
shocked.
pretty
Like
legit.
I know there's been good SpaceX tests, but I guess I just hadn't followed it enough that they literally were to the point where they were going to stick people in the SpaceX rocket.
I
and
didn't
just
realize
go
that
for it.
either.
I didn't realize we were to that point.
I didn't realize we were either. I love this
I mean, are
person
these
on this
honestly
feed
that
here.
much more dangerous than sending, like, Shepard up in, like, the freaking Gemini?
Right, he's on the
Yeah,
back of a
so-
ballistic
Is it-
missile.
Yeah, it's like, is it really? Like, here, we'll put you on the warhead. We took the warhead out. We think.
Yeah, we just pulled the nuke out. We just pulled the nuke out, and we're putting you in.
Yeah.
Go.
We put a chair. Don't worry, you'll be fine.
It's like a lawn chair strapped where the warhead was.
We got zip ties. Zip
We
ties.
tried it. We
zip
tried
ties
it.
and duct tape.
We
the
tried it
dog-
with a chimp.
The dog was okay, but the chip survived.
Oh man,
Have you guys watched the new show that's out
yeah.
now? It just came out
my
yesterday.
internet,
I
my
think,
internet died last
on
night.
Amazon.
I didn't even think we were
Or,
gonna have a
on,
show today.
Netflix.
I did not because I don't have
Space
Netflix.
Force.
That sounds amazing.
It's,
I'm
It's
excited.
got Steve Carell. It's by the same creators as The Office.
Sounds
I watched the
amazing.
first few episodes last night. It's funny, a little bit of language. It also obviously has a little bit of a liberal lean to it, although I feel like they are pretty. They still make fun of everyone. I think they do some caricatures of people on the left that are pretty funny as well, in in a hearing that he has to go through, like a House committee hearing, and but it's essentially Steve Carell's character is a general that's picked to lead the Space Force.
Because of
And
his
there's-
failed.
No, not because of any failed anything. He actually
This failed paper company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slight spoiler alert. He thinks he's being promoted so that he's going to take over the Air Force.
I love how Jeff does a spoiler alert on something that came out yesterday.
I know.
That means it'll be 3 days old by the time you guys listen to this.
This is like,
It'll be fine.
The premise is other that just that he thinks he's getting selected to lead the Air Force, and then surprise, he's leading the Space Force, and it's pretty funny. Of course, there's a lot of references to the president wants this, the POTUS wants this, you know, blah blah. They never call him Trump; they just call him POTUS. There's jokes about the POTUS tweeting. He's about to tweet about this, but I mean, I can get on board with making fun of some Trump tweets.
With that, yeah.
Yeah, right.
He opens himself up, man.
So it is pretty. I've enjoyed it so far.
I didn't realize how industrial and machine-like the outside of the International Space Station looked.
Where have you been?
Like I thought it was more of a
years.
streamlined, like tubular-looking thing.
This is the second one, right?
This is the second one. Yeah, this is the
No,
International
second one. They just
Space
keep
Station.
building onto it, right?
Well, one of them came down.
The mirror came down.
Yeah.
I know that we talked about this on the show maybe a year ago now.
Did we?
Talked about going to Mars and stuff like that, and how, you know, as I was reading about it, the guys are saying technically the space station is what's dragging our space program down. Like, it was supposed to be a limited time experiment between multiple countries, and after so many years it was supposed to be abandoned and burn up in the atmosphere. But nostalgia, every time it comes up in the budget, everyone's going, no, we can't be seen as getting rid of space exploration, and so they keep dumping money into this decades-old project instead of giving up and going on a new thing.
Well, they can't do it now because England just pearled out of the European Union.
Okay.
They'd never be able. Oh, forget it. Only one like on this thing. Is this working?
Not really. You're being quiet. You're talking quietly.
Brexit is why they can't destroy the space station.
Yeah,
and
because
move on to moon exploration.
Yeah, because they don't want to be totally we're all against everything and all countries should just go back to the way they were. Because
I see what you're saying. You're preaching the unity.
Thing.
Okay. I gotcha.
I was not following you there.
Man.
I do like the labeling they have on the space station. They're like every couple inches is labeled.
What does it say? Elon's Musk?
Three.
No, they don't own the space station yet.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking the thing. Oh, the space station. I'm sorry.
Labeling. Assembled.
It's about to. That's what the
assembled in the USA
with.
with parts made in China. Like, what do you mean by labeling?
So like everything's numbered so that they know exactly the proper sector of the space station to go to.
Yeah, that's because it's in space.
These dudes up. They're sending them up to graffiti it.
They're tagging it.
Gonna put a big billboard.
It's a graffiti. They're not astronauts. It's a graffiti artist and a YouTube star.
All right, guys, they are driving right now in their Teslas to the launch pad.
Are they driving though?
Is it on autopilot?
I bet it's on autopilot.
Dude, wouldn't that be horrible?
I don't have the audio.
It runs out of battery juice before it makes it to the pad because it's such a long drive.
Because they forgot to charge it since the other day when they
forgot
went.
to charge it from the other
now,
day.
What I
want to
know is, are they going to keep the space truck or whatever they are getting there in the car? Are they going to keep it at the launch pad to see how long it takes to burn up?
That would be a cool test.
I'd be okay with that.
Are they going to go retrieve the other Tesla that's in space? Once they're in space, are they going to go hop in the other Tesla to drive around?
Yeah.
They landed that one on the moon.
Did they land it on the moon? I thought
they are
just
going. That'd be
space.
awesome if they did.
The next space rover is a Tesla.
You just said that like it was factual, and we're like, did they?
I totally didn't expect you guys to buy it.
I'm pretty sure they just launched it off into space. They didn't.
They did
put it on the moon.
It was just launched into space.
And you know what? Do you know why we left the lunar rover on the moon? Actually,
because we're going back.
Because we're going back.
It was a rental.
That's the best commercial
ever. It was a one-way
ever.
rental.
No,
nobody's into rentals right now, Jeff.
Yeah, no one likes rentals. You might.
Did you? Oh,
dead.
Speaking of rentals, did you know that you can actually rent on Airbnb a AA baseball stadium?
Can you really?
Yes, I saw that in the news. I gotta look that up. I
no
know
way.
Exactly where it is.
Now this is your hard-hitting news.
For our 0.5K.
Yes.
I'm super curious about this now.
Airbnb. Let's see. Here we go. Airbnb Stadium opens for guests in Pensacola.
Really?
Pensacola minor league team lists stadium on Airbnb. So there
Really?
you go. If you're in Florida,
$1,500 per night for 10 people.
that's actually not bad.
It's not bad at all.
Staying there? Like,
Yeah.
are you sleeping?
Yeah,
there?
like you get
you stay in the
stadium.
suites or something like
I
that.
don't know. I'm not sure. But you get
Just
like the stadium.
Rent
from
it
my
to play a
understanding.
little softball tourney that evening.
Dude, that'd be awesome with 10 people.
Guests are welcome to play on the field. Full batting practice setup.
That'd be great.
Full tour of the premises. Provide security and answer questions. I want to know if the concessions are open.
Depends on how much you pay.
I'm just
Mathis wants his pretzel and his popcorn. Dang
need
it.
my nachos. Dang
Where's
it.
my hot dog? They probably are, but the prices are probably outrageous because nobody else is there.
Actually,
Oh,
at the
yeah.
minor-
Like,
at
it's
the
Here's a
minor league-
$100 hot dog.
at
Yes.
the minor league parks, the prices are usually pretty good. 'Cause
So
they just want people there to make money.
there are drivers in the front of the car, just so you guys know, in case you were wondering.
Sure, there
But
are.
are they people or are they androids?
I don't know.
It's Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
They are guys, they have armed guards guiding these vehicles out to the launch pad.
Well, I hope they have arms.
You never.
Why
you
would they
never
have
know if the
unarmed
Chinese-
guards? I
you
mean,
never
that
know
would
if the
just be
Chinese might show
stupid.
up
This
and
is
try to
me
stop 'em.
staring at you in the camera saying, what in the world, Ozzy?
Dad
I'm
jokes.
excited about this.
Listen, you're the one. You guys are the ones that were arguing on like taking off your legs to have a better chance in the Olympics, and you're not going to give me unarmed guards.
Technically, you can. I'm just saying, it's an option. It's not a good option,
And you're
but
going to
it's
come
an
after
option.
me on unarmed guards joke. Come on.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're done
done.
for this week.
Oh.
www.thefrontporchshow.com 1402-799-1811. We will see you next week. You can catch us on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes, wherever else you like to get your online content. And I'm pretty sure I said iTunes twice. That means it's extra important.
And iTunes. Don't forget about
And iTunes, yes,
And
iTunes.
iTunes.
Bye-bye.